Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Kentucky. I'm John Neighbors alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis. Appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon is if you're watching here on YouTube or on Twitter or on Facebook or however you're watching us. Guys, we are live from the KSBar here in Lexington. We are surrounded by a lot of blue, not only on the apparel of all the people here, but also the walls. It's an awesome setup, and we're happy to be here. It's great.
Yeah, no, this place is awesome, and there's some people looking over here like, what? Who are these guys? Why are they here? What's going on? They can see that Inside Arkansas tablecloth, though. We're represented in here amongst a bunch of blue. That the biggest takeaway for me, besides this place being awesome, like a legit goal for our careers, is right above our heads. We got to get the Inside Arkansas caricatures, man.
Yeah,
we got it. We got to get it done. That's good stuff right there.
Of course, I don't know. I'm afraid of what someone would draw of us, like and what they, because like these look pretty normal, but like I don't know if they do a good job enough. You know, kind of like those statues that get revealed when they don't look like the actual people.
We got to talk to our buddy Hawk.
Yeah,
I was
Hawk
say Alumni Hawk has set us up with Hawk Tunes for sure, but this place is unreal, man.
Hey, dude, it's
I said I came into Lexington with no real expectations. I also came here with no expectations. I figured it would be cool, but like didn't really know. Didn't look at a bunch of pictures or anything. I just kind of was like, okay, we're going to the sports bar. It'll be all right. Blown away, man. I was really blown away when we walked in here, and there's a ton of people here watching their show at like Thursday at 11 o'clock, and it's like you just got a bar full of people. They're just tapped in listening to Kentucky stuff, and it's just like it's awesome. You said goals. It's like it definitely was something to see that and see the vision for what they've got going on here, man. Just this place is awesome.
Yeah.
It really is.
How funny was it when we walked in the door here and we didn't really know what to expect. We were just coming in to say hi and start getting set up, and they were kind of in the middle of their show on commercial break, and as soon as we walked in, those guys are like, oh, don't boo the Arkansas guys. All the Kentucky heads turned around. There were only a couple playful boos, but that was something to walk into. And even in the moment, even though it was just playful or whatever, but walking in and seeing all those heads turn, I immediately thought, man, imagine what Cal's going to feel like in front of 22,000 on Saturday, because I felt seen walking in here, buddy, and I don't know these people, you know?
Yeah.
So.
No, I have no idea about him. In fact, the loudest boo came from apparently Jack Pilgrim over here from On 3 in KSR. So he's going to be joining us later in the show. We'll talk to him because Mark Pope met with the media today here in Kentucky, and shockingly, John Calipari met with the media today. Like, I mean, that happened. Not post-game press conference. He himself, not Chin Coleman, not Chuck Martin. John Calipari said, you know what? I'm going to meet with the media today, and we're going to have some clips to play from that. But how about that, Cal meeting with the media? What a concept.
I feel less in tune with this game coming up, having not heard from Kenny Payne. I got to tell you, man, I'm a little bit disappointed. No, that was awesome, man. I'm glad that Cal did that. And it was no funny business. You know, he sat down, and usually when he sits down after games, he's already talking. Like as soon as he walks in the room, coming up to the podium, he's doing his little spiel or whatever. He sat down and was like, hey, I'm kind of here for you guys. Like, let's just open up the questions. And it was a lengthy one. You know, his post games have been like 5 minutes, 7 minutes here and there lately. And I know this is a little bit different. We just haven't had one of these. And he was up there for about 25 minutes and answered a lot of questions, had a lot to say. And believe it or not, I thought it was pretty insightful. So
I thought it was good too, and I think there were like literally 14 or 15 questions. We set the over/under at like 5.5. We were like, he's not going to answer a ton, but yeah, I mean, especially because he did sassies. He did sassies this week, so you thought for sure, and with the way that there was some pushback whenever folks asked about the possibility of him doing this, I thought for sure like we really probably at this point wouldn't have held it against him if he didn't do media, just because it's kind of been the expectation. But yeah, loved that, and what a concept that you have a big game coming up. So you have the head coach of the team go out and talk about the things going on with his team, talk about the opponent, talk about where they're playing. Now I feel like us and the media and the fans, we have a better understanding of the matchup. We're more excited for it. It's crazy. It really is. But I really did think, and Cal's press conferences are, it's not like he's all the time. He's in that politician mode a little bit. But I feel like he did a good job, talking about some of the subjects that, were a little bit tense or dicey, and he handled it well, and it was just good to hear from him for sure.
Not that he was asked a ton of very specific scouting report questions, but It was classic Cal fashion where about 15 seconds of the 25-minute presser was about Kentucky's basketball team.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, they're good.
Good team.
Yeah.
They're playing in the way they need to play to win games. So, yep, they can shoot it.
Shout out Tom Murphy who got that, who asked the question for the Kentucky Scout. Shout out Tom Murphy who just still on the horse, covered basketball more than he's ever covered basketball. When he has a built-in excuse not to cover basketball if he didn't want to.
No. And again, we'll get to those clips, folks. If you want to get on the conversation, you can hop into the chat. We'll respond to those. Also, you can call in. The phone lines are open this time around. I wasn't able to do it yesterday, but 478-344-6623 is that number to bounce in on. And I know that so you guys were able to listen to the press conference and watch, and we have a few clips from it. And don't worry, folks, also, we are going to talk about that Hunter Yurachek interview today. We will have some discussions because there has been a lot from that. But I'll just kind of throw it to you guys because you guys have the clips. Just what was it that Cal, like as far as the first thing that really stood out and the most interesting thing that he had to say to the media today?
Well, I think what everybody wanted to hear is about just his emotions and channeling that as he returns to Rupp. And, like he talked about it just briefly after that Oklahoma game. I know he mentioned it at Sassy's, and it wasn't a direct rerun of a quote there. So naturally, that was kind of the first thing that he was asked about. And I thought he gave a pretty solid answer there.
He and another thing that you talked about this yesterday on Pot at the Palace, not realizing that we were going to get to hear from John Calipari. Yeah. Obviously, everyone kind of wanted to know. You got these three players that played at Kentucky, four if you're counting the guy whose name is escaping me that started that one game at Kentucky. The walk-on Kareem Watkins.
Come on, man. How could you not figure that out?
You can't walk into KSBar and not know Kareem Watkins.
I was a big Kareem Watkins guy. Whenever they got him, I was like, hey, look at that. Get some experience, some veteran leadership in the room. But then they also asked him about the commits. Boogie Fland, who's obviously not going to play in this game, Carter Knox and Billy Richmond all were committed to Kentucky at one point. So there's a lot of conversations that Cal's had to have with his team and kind of prepping them for the challenge that's ahead. And he didn't mince words. He didn't try to downplay it because a lot of times when you're in this situation, you have coaches that'll try and downplay it. It's just another game. Yeah. It's just whatever. And he was like, no, this is not just another game. It's going to be a very emotional thing. He was asked about the Rick Pitino thing. Didn't really give an answer.
Yeah, we're have to talk about that too.
He had a hilarious reaction to it where he's kind of like Rick Pitino. But I love that he kind of acknowledged how big of a deal this was, and the fact that he talked with his players individually and just kind of as a group of, hey, there's going to be some anxiety. It's going to be interesting here. So I thought hear from that standpoint for sure.
So let's go ahead and hear what John Calipari had to say about balancing his emotions in coming back to Rupp Arena for the first time since becoming head coach of Arkansas.
When there's an emotional side of it.
You just got to explain and talk to them about what the beginning will be like. There'll be some anxiety. There's going to be. This is kind of like taking players back home. They were absolutely engaged with everything there, and now they're going back to that situation. So I just got to talk to them about being calm in the storm. Got to talk to them about the anxiety early. It's going to be there. And that's why when everybody was just concerned about me walking into Rupp, what about those three too? And my focus was more on those three walking in than me. And I'll say it again. This is, you're not erasing what happened there for me. And so my memories of my players that I coached there, they're Kentucky fans, but I coached them. So they also have a relationship with me. And what my hope is, what we did there, we do here. Now, in league play, we're off to a little slower start than I thought we'd be. But that's all right. Let's grow from this. Let me grow from this. We want to do the same here, have the same stuff with players, the accomplishments, competing for championships and all this stuff. Want to do it here. But all of us walking in, yeah, it's going to touch us. It's going to be emotional. Am I looking forward to it? It's the next game for me, yet there's going to be some added stuff, seeing friends, being around people that I care about, that I love, having thoughts of
All right, so there's John Calipari and his emotions that he is going to be going through. And, it's funny because when he brought up there's also other players, too, that are going to be involved in this. And we alluded to it a little bit yesterday, just trying to be in the shoes of those guys and like how, we've never experienced something like that. We never will. But I don't care what anybody says to think that there's not going to be some sort of emotion, some sort of reaction, some sort of feeling walking into that place and seeing the crowd there. It's going to be something. It's just a matter of what does Cal do with that emotion? Does it motivate him? Does it impact him in a negative and a positive way? Don't really know, but the emotions are going to be there.
Yeah, I don't remember if he just said it in this clip or if it was in a different one, but one of the things he said was like, he doesn't remember ever seeing Big Blue Nation cheer for an opposing coach when he was there coaching.
Yeah,
so
true.
he's like, but I think he's going to be fine. I mean, he's been in situations like this before, not exactly like this, but everywhere that man's been, he's been booed. Every time I've seen him walk into Bud Walton Arena before he was wearing the red occasionally, he was getting booed. You know what I mean? So I don't think he's going to be affected by that. I like that he's going to sit down with his players individually about what to expect, harnessing those emotions. And he's also right. Once you get into the flow of the game, those guys are going to be fine. It's when they walk in there for shoot-around, the memories start stirring. When you're in there for pregame warm-ups and people start coming in, maybe you're getting heckled a little bit by the student section that used to cheer for you. It's going to be weird seeing the jersey across from you that you used to wear.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. You're getting announced in the starting lineup, and maybe they boo. I don't think they will, but all that's going to be a little bit surreal. The ball tips, you get a couple possessions in, and it's just basketball, man. And I really think that that's probably going to be the case for those guys. At least for Razorback fans' sake, they should hope that that's true. And if nothing else, maybe they have a little extra chip on the shoulder or whatever to go out there and perform in the place that they used to call home.
With a 9 p.m. tip local time, 9 p.m. Eastern, you would assume Arkansas is going to do a shoot-around tomorrow at some point, right? They'll get a chance in there.
Yeah.
And he also, one thing he mentioned was that Friday night they're going to get to go into Rupp and do a little bit of a practice there, which obviously is like commonplace and normal. But I think he mentioned that for a reason because I think, like you said, Curtis, a lot of these guys are going to be going into that arena. That's when that emotion's going to hit. That's when those memories are going to come back, and it's going to maybe shake a Duke Theroux, or it's going to shake DJ Wagner, Big Z. And so kind of getting in front of that process to where once the game tips off, like you said, that's all kind of behind you. You've had your moment. You've wiped your tears. Senior day's over. It's time to get to business. And so I think the fact that he's talking about it is a good sign that he's trying to not let that be a factor in this game. Obviously, there's gonna be a lot of fuel there. There's gonna be something there. There's gonna be some adrenaline. But I like that he's taking this approach with it for sure.
Also, a few of the other things that he had to say, and talking about the freshmen and the former Kentucky commitments and everything, which, again, is an element that has been talked about, but still also it's bigger than Cal even. There's going to be some other type of deals and emotions going through that. Here's what he had to say on that.
Well, Billy and Carter, we'll have a conversation. Boogie obviously won't be playing in the game, but it's all I can keep saying. I come back to my memories and my fond memories and the experience there. I will always cherish what we did there. What the UMass, the Memphis, the Kentucky. Let's do that here. Let's get this and let's start some new memories. But the slow start in this league, which is and everybody now you're seeing you're getting dinged. It's what it is. This league is going to be one of those leagues at the end of the year. Going to have a lot of teams in the NCAA tournament. We just got to fight to get back on that side.
They're going to have to do a lot of fighting.
Yeah,
they're going to have to scratch and claw with their fingernails.
But yeah, that's it is interesting because we've all known about the guys who played at Kentucky last year or for the last couple years in Theroux's case and what that's going to be like for them. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's a little bit undervalued or under talked about with guys like Carter and Billy, who, yes, I mean, they committed to John Calipari. That's why they're here now. But they also committed to Kentucky. Like, they took their official visits here. They probably, had plans to be roommates in their dorm or wherever. Like they knew people on campus, and that's where they expected to call home. and then in the blink of an eye, everything changes.
Yep.
And if you remember how that process worked with those guys, where there was a little bit of a waiting game. Do we decommit? Do we reopen this thing? Are we going to take other visits? Like, what's really going on? And then ultimately, those guys wound up reopening it and visiting Arkansas and Cal and seeing what was going on. They made that decision, but that's going to be weird for them too. There's probably, whether they're 100% happy with their decisions or not or whatever, I don't know. I don't talk to those guys, but either way, when you have a situation like this where you were going somewhere, you wound up somewhere else, and then you play where you thought you were going to be, there's going to be a lot of, wow, what would it have been like if I would have been here? Like, what, or if Cal never left, or so that stuff's going to be jogging through their mind too. And they're freshmen, so it's different for them because they haven't handled this stuff yet. They're not the grizzled veterans with the mental toughness and everything. So I think there is a conversation to be had with those guys to get them locked in for this game because Arkansas needs everyone to play well. We've seen that. If like one guy drops the ball, it's not a good thing for this team because you just don't have that many players left at this point.
Ultimately, it's human nature, whether it's Cal, whether it's the former Kentucky players or the guys that were committed. You kind of just want to feel vindicated in the decision you made. And obviously, I'm sure a lot of these guys have maybe thought about that. I mean, that's going to be a certain, like a factor that you're thinking of as you're going into this environment. But I think that's got to be a motivating factor there of, we chose not to go to Kentucky, some of those players. And so I think that's an interesting little mind game that they're going to be messing with of like, not that this game can prove, hey, that we made the right decision by going to Arkansas, but I think you want to go out there, you want to play. And so when you have a 1-6 team, and we can talk about Arkansas's motivation, Cal's motivation, and down the stretch, especially if they lose this game, that's going to be very much in question of what is this team playing for? What do they have to prove? What's like kind of their motivation? In a game like this, it's easy. And so I think for this Arkansas team, who really hasn't struggled with motivation, if you ask me,
No.
I mean, just based on and Cal talked about that a little bit, that they've been fighting, and that's why he's not disappointed in him. You like that whole thing?
Yeah.
But I think that's, with a game like this, you don't have to do do we still have a chance at the tournament? None of that really matters right now. What matters is you're going into a ruckus environment. You better be ready for it. You better bring your A game because you know that fan base is going to bring their A game. And so I just think it's one of those games that as a sports fan, as a person who plays sports, this is what you live for. And so it's going to be interesting to see these guys kind of rise on this stage, rise on this occasion. And if there's one thing Cal's done throughout his career, it's getting really talented players ready to thrive in these big environments. That's kind of his entire MO. And so this is kind of a chance. Obviously, the season hasn't gone the way Arkansas wanted it to go, but this is a chance for them to kind of live on that big stage, thrive on that big stage. And so it's going to be cool to see if they make the most of it.
If you're going to be in this situation that nobody wants to be in, but where you're teetering on the verge of, all right, like, how are these guys going to stay together? Don't let go of the rope, whatever cliche. This is probably the perfect game to have here because of your exact points of, like, you don't need any external motivation. You don't have to search for it. It's right there for you. So I would much rather have this situation where you've got all these unique factors of going back to Kentucky for all these guys, as opposed to this being Arkansas 1-6 and you got to go on the road and play Auburn now, or whoever else. So I'll take it given the circumstances.
We'll get to your chats, folks. If you want in the conversation, we'll get to your phone calls too. If you want to call in 478-344-6623, it's Inside Arkansas live from KSBar here in Lexington. One thing I remember talking to my good friend Bobby Regan of Barstool Sports, big Kentucky guy, unable to make it this trip, had something come up. But either way, he told me going back when the SEC schedule was made, he just said, he's like, dude, I know Cal's going to obsess over that Kentucky game. He's going to obsess over it, and that's why I know we're going to lose. I know Kentucky's going to lose because he's going to obsess. Now, granted, this is before the season started and, all of that. And, he said that. And then I was talking to some other guys like Drew Franklin here at KSR and all that. And he didn't say those words, but he kind of alluded to a little bit. It was like, Cal, this is something he's motivated. And I'm like, okay, everyone should be motivated to win. And, there may be some motivation. But this is what I am hoping to see from this team. I'm not expecting a win. I really am not. But I want to see this be the best coach game that Cal's given all year long. You listen, I know you have injuries and all that stuff. You'd had a week since last game you played. This game has been on the schedule. All the travel, all that stuff. I want to see, if you're truly obsessive, if you truly want this, if you want it as bad as you can taste it, I want to see this be the best coaching job that Cal's given in a single game this year. Obviously, you want to see it every time, but that's what I want to see. I want to see Cal. I want him to make it personal. I want him to be mad about it. I'm going to show those jerks over there at Big Blue Nation here in the nice KSR bar with friendly faces everywhere. I want to make them pay for wanting me out of there. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know what it's going to look like when the game, but I just really hope that there is an element of that to his edge, that he wants it as bad as he can taste it.
I feel you. I feel you on that 100%. And if he truly does feel that way, he's done a great job of hiding it and make it seem like he doesn't, because he's very, like, he's transparent from the standpoint of like, hey, I've got a lot of great memories there, cherish my time there. I'm at Arkansas now. I'm trying to get our guys better. Yeah, this is going to be different, but at the end of the day, we're just trying to win. Like, he's given the stock message, the stock answers that he is supposed to.
Yep.
While not, a lot of other coaches would like avoid answering the question. Like, I wonder what Chris, you mentioned it the other day, but like, what is Chris Beard going to say about going back to Texas after everything that happened there? Or did that just happen? Did they do that last night?
Was that last night? I don't know if it was
that
last
Ole
night.
Miss?
Yeah, we were really busy last night.
Whatever. Anyway, you get the point.
We were not tapped in on SEC basketball last night.
You get the point. But yeah, I wonder about that, and I just hope also that his players, because there's one thing about Cal is he's always got his guys back. Do they have his back?
Yes.
Because they're going to know
point.
what this is going to mean for him. Like those guys aren't naive to the gravity of the situation that he's walking into. So my hope on the other side of the coin is that those guys are a little bit extra motivated, locked in, dialed in, focused, and give that extra 1% for the skipper. No, seriously. Like I hope they do.
Well, and I will say this, and this is going to be weird. It's the one thing I actually liked about Houston Nutt. I hated a lot of things about him, but the one thing is that dude could, if there was a game that he felt personal, he would get his team for that one game. They'd lose to Vanderbilt the next week, but that one game he would obsess over. That's why when Arkansas and Ole Miss played, when he was the coach at Ole Miss, he either won those games or had made the games close when he had no business making them close, because he obsessed over that. There was those LSU games that were on the line at the end of the year. Many times Arkansas had no business being in them, but he would obsess over it. I want that element to be here for Cal. Listen, they're not making the tournament, all of that stuff. We can get there. But if you were going to have one game, if you're going to have one game where you're going to obsess, if you're going to have one game where you're going to come out and win, how incredible would it be for Cal, for these players, for the fan base here at Arkansas and everything, for this to be that one game that you win? Yeah, if you don't make the tournament, people are going to be upset by that. But, man, it's going to be fun to look back upon and be like, yeah, but, man, Cal, he got it done. He had no business winning that game, but he got it done. I want to be able to have that conversation next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long people want to talk about it, of Cal going into Rupp and showing them what's what, and showing them, hey, I still know how to draw plays. I still know how to, I can know how to run the floppy. I want to see that stuff. I want to have that happen.
Well, and again, with this Arkansas team, it's like, if it's not now, and not saying like, hey, if you lose this Kentucky game, you can't do anything. Like, there's plenty of opportunities down the stretch that obviously they're running out of time, running out of losses that they can afford. But it becomes one of those things where you kind of know the path forward has to include winning some of these games you're not supposed to. Mm-hmm. When you add in the desperation this Arkansas team should feel based on their situation and their standing in the SEC, you add in the Cal-Kentucky thing, you add in the fact that they're going to be playing in such a massive atmosphere, prime time, ESPN, late night, like, it's one of the, again, like I said, if you're a player in sports, if you can't get up for this game, then what the hell are you going to get up for?
Exactly.
And so it's like, and again with this team, we're kind of at that point where it's shit or get off the pot. And so it's like, if Arkansas can't get up and really play their best game in this game, whatever you're going to try and talk yourself into this Arkansas team doing down the stretch, it just becomes really hard. And we've been saying that a lot, and they've been letting us down a lot. And again, we're running out of time with this particular matchup. It has to be, balls to the wall.
I'll tell you what, and we'll use this. Again, we'll get to your chats, but we'll use this as the Alumni Hall question of the day, presented by Alumni Hall. I don't have the cool graphic. I apologize. But just know you can go to, I know, it's just craziness as things start falling apart on me. But InsideArkansas.com/Alumni Hall, you can get your great Razorback apparel there, all different types. And you can also check them out in store at 3417 North College Avenue in Fayetteville. We'll be there next Friday doing a live show. So check out Alumni Hall today. So this is going to be my question of the day for you guys as well. We're going to play this clip here in just a second. If you were a Kentucky fan, would you boo or would you cheer when John Calipari's announced? If you were a Kentucky fan, what would you do?
I think I would boo.
Yep, I would too.
Lighthearted, like not with vindication or anything like that, but it's just part of the deal when you walk into my home arena. Yep. You know what I mean?
Even if he delivered a national championship?
Yeah.
I mean,
I really think I would. I don't think it has to be hateful or whatever. I think it just needs to be part of the deal. And here's what I'll say is, everybody's situation's a little bit different. Fans are different with what means something to them, what doesn't. some people are going to stand up and clap because they're so appreciative of everything that he's done. And if that's how you feel, good on you. Just stand up and say it with your chest. Other folks have a sour taste in their mouth for how things went the last few years. Getting tired of the same old script on repeat. And, yeah, he did the thing with the AD where he said he was coming back. He dipped a week later, and he took his players. And if you don't like that and you want to stand up and boo, stand up and boo.
Yeah.
I don't think there has to be like a unanimous, this is how Big Blue Nation should, how John Calipari should be received to these guys, because I just feel like everybody handles these situations a little bit different, which is why I think it's going to be kind of a mixed bag of what you're going to get out there. But I do think for the most part, it's going to be maybe a little bit warmer than he expects, because he seems to expect that he's going to get,
Yeah. Well, and he talked about that a lot, and we have the clip. We can even play that after this. But he said he was as simple for him as, I'm the opposing coach.
Yeah.
I've never been in Rupp and heard them cheer for an opposing coach. Obviously, this situation is kind of a unique one, but I think a lot of times we do this thing where everything has to mean something. Oh, well, you're cheering him. That must mean that you think he's a better coach than Mark Pope. You think he's you want him back. It doesn't have to mean that. And if you're booing him, it doesn't mean you don't respect what he did at Kentucky and you're not happy for the national championship. You're not happy for all the memories. I think, like John Calipari said, it could be literally just as simple as Kentucky's about to play basketball. I want them to win. The coach over there wants to beat them. Screw that guy. He's the enemy today. And I think there's going to be a lot of Kentucky fans that, like I said, have that appreciation, but will have no problem, especially with it being a night game. They'll be all hydrated, they'll be ready to go. They'll have their bourbon in them. They'll be ready to boo. And so I really do think like that's what it comes down to for me.
Well, we'll play a few clips here kind of back to back and showing it. So Not Expecting Love, I assume, is this the one he's talking about, the booing and everything? Okay, I figured, wanted to make sure. So, yeah, here's John Calipari speaking on the reception he'll get in Rupp.
In your own mind?
I don't expect that. And if it happened, I'd be like, wow, but I'm not expecting it. And not because of anything other than I'm the opposing coach now. I mean, again, they all remember what went on and where it started and how we got it going in that span of time that, it could be matched, but you're going to have to really do some stuff. And I'm not just talking to Kentucky, I'm talking anywhere. And so, yeah, it's however that is, believe me, my focus is going to be on my team to give us the best chance to be able to play that game, compete at a high level, and be there at the end where you have a chance.
Okay, so we played that clip, and also I love the thing. It's just like, something maybe like, wow. Like, it's like what an emphatic wow that he gave. But also with that comes another clip from another former Kentucky basketball coach, Rick Patino.
This is wild.
This was a video that was posted by him and talking about Kentucky fans and the reception that Cal will give, and we'll just play that for you.
Hello, Big Blue Nation. I didn't steer you wrong with Mark Pope when I sent out that last video, and I certainly won't steer you wrong with this video. Toughest day of my coaching career at Louisville was when I had to walk into Rupp Arena. Tried not to show it, but when I went home, the reception, it tore me up apart because I love that place so much. And it's interesting because I was speaking to Ed Cooley just recently about Providence, and he said he almost was brought to tears because of the bad feelings he got going back there. But this is different. And as you all know, I'm not best friends with John Calipari. I respect him, certainly. But it was a mutual thing. The fans wanted a change. John read the tea leaves. He needed a change. And he really didn't want to leave. But what did he do for you? He brought the best talent in the history of the game of any university in America to Lexington. He also won a national championship. He also his style of play was extremely entertaining. So he's coming back on Saturday. And I want all of you to show the great class that you have. 23,000 plus people giving him a huge standing ovation. Show him what respect and admiration's all about. I know you have the class. I've always believed in you. Do it once again.
What in the world was that?
Rick Pitino, the spokesperson for Big Blue Nation, man.
And listen, I appreciate the effort that he gives, but okay, he's like, what was the point of that video? Like, did somebody ask him, like, hey, do you mind like helping out a little bit? Or was he simply like, because he's not on social media much and seeing all the horrible things. Like, what motivated him to be like, I have a basketball team that I'm coaching, and I know Cal's going back to Rupp. I'm going to say, okay, hey, fans, don't boo this man. And trust me, well, I'm not a fan of him either. We're not a fan of each other. Hate the man, but just don't boo him. Like, what was the point of that?
Well, I mean, it surely wasn't because they were friends, as he said. Like, it wasn't that. It was like, hey, Cal's like, hey, man, do me a solid there, Slick Rick.
Yeah. And, help me out here. I don't want to hear the boos.
I really think, I mean, I'm sure he's not naive to the fact that the game is happening. He's probably, he's not surfing Twitter or whatever for it, but he's probably heard some of the discourse about, do we boo, do we cheer, like what's going to go on there. And I think he's probably genuine in saying that was the toughest day of his coaching career, and thinking about how he felt about that, and he just didn't want to see that happen to someone else, or like remember the good times or whatever. I know that Kentucky fans do not like to be told how to feel or how to act about something.
We found that out here recently.
Yeah, exactly, and he definitely just did that, but that was insane.
Yeah,
bro.
Well,
that's crazy.
And I tell you what, before we continue to talk about, let's go, because Cal was asked about the Patino video.
He gave a hilarious, while they were asking him the question, and I don't think it's in this clip, but while they were asking him the question, someone said Rick Pitino's name. He did he kind of like a grimace, like a brace for impact. He's like, "Where's this going?" Because again, don't think they're BFFs.
No. And well, here's John Calipari being asked about that.
Coach Patino.
That's nice of him to do, but it's look, those fans are so engaged. Like these fans. Those fans travel. If you're doing well, they're crazy. If they're doing poorly, they're just as engaged. So I was there 15 years. I love the fans there. But they're engaged.
You've coached a lot of really good players over the years, numerous draft picks. I'm curious.
Say there was Cal, and I love that reaction because we know, of course, we don't know Cal as much and as great as these Kentucky fans here. But the thing about Cal is he's going to get asked a question, but he's going to answer whatever question he actually wants to answer. And so him coming out and being like, hey, what'd you think about Rick Pitino? You could tell by his face he's kind of like, oh, it's nice of him. But let me tell you about the fans and like how he just – it's like he didn't even care. Like he probably thought it was weird too. He's like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you sending this video?"
I really wonder, is Cal trying to like reverse psychology his way into getting a standing O on Saturday? Like, I'm being dead serious. Like,
he might be,
because he's been bringing this up. He brought it up. Was it Monday on his show? He's kind of planted those seeds, and he's like, "Oh, I know I'm going to get booed. I know I'm going to get booed. They're going to be vicious, and matter of fact, they're well within their rights to get booed." And I think there's no doubt he's trying to kind of appeal to that. And look, I think it clearly worked because Patino, I'm sure he saw that quote and was like, you know what? I remember when I got booed in Rupp and I hated it. It made me sad. And Ed Cooley, who, by the way, the reason Ed Cooley's been being brought to tears is because he's been getting his ass kicked every time he goes back to Providence. I think he's 0-4 there. So I think that's part of it. But I do think like those conversations were definitely in his brain. And again, I think it was Patino being genuine. Again, did someone force him to do that video? I don't know, but I think that was just his genuine feel of like, man, I remember how that was. That sucked. If I can prevent that from Cal, maybe I can help. But I don't think it's really going to matter that much.
No, Cal could be doing trying to talk the fans into the opposite deal of, oh, this is what you think of us? We'll show you. Here's a standing O, buddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think the other thing about Patino, didn't he get his his repentance earlier in the year with Kentucky? Because then they brought him out. I don't know if it was like their Big Blue Madness thing or what it was, but he got a pretty warm reception and welcome back. I think the KSR guys had him on. I think he was on with Matt Jones.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I wonder if he would have done this video had he not had that moment, that kind of full circle thing, because it seems like, and I remember his reactions at the time to that. You could tell how affected he was by everything that happened. Listen, he's guilty of his own sins, right? But it feels like he needed that kind of vindication from it, and so maybe he's just hoping for that for Cal. Well, I don't know. It was interesting.
Also, too, like, I mean, Patino going to Louisville, I feel like had to be like that's when they coached together. It was a different thing. I mean, Arkansas and Kentucky have a little bit of but nowhere close to what Kentucky and Louisville is. So yeah, there was a lot of things there, but I laughed so hard when I saw that. I was like, Okay, what is this? Like, what are y'all doing right now?
He's
Like,
just
what is the
chilling
point of this?
at a desk that overlooks the
But
court. Or
it is
something.
worth noting, and we got this confirmed by Seth Greenberg. Nobody outside of Arkansas and Kentucky cares about this game.
That's true. Yeah.
Nobody cares.
That's the
Nobody's
rumor.
talking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. In fact, it's the best kept secret in all of college basketball is this game happening.
Yeah.
So
we care about Duke and North Carolina, 2 schools separated by 8 miles. The whole world's going to be fixated on that.
100%.
Come on,
Yeah.
man.
You think Rick Pitino's going to send a video to Shire? He's going to be like, "Yo,
Yeah.
be prepared, man. It's going to be a fun game."
Yeah. I just can't wait for after the game. If Cal did not get booed like crazy, he's gonna just sit there in front of everybody and just be like, "I thought I was gonna get booed. Who else thought I was gonna get
Did
booed?
I get booed?
Did you get booed? Did I get booed? I got booed. Try to tell you. They're engaged though. The fans are engaged.
Holes. Bazooka. The arrows went right
holes.
through me.
Yeah, the bazooka holes. They're all there. Like, jeez, it's like I feel like we've known Cal as long as these people have because we got people laughing because they know exactly what we're talking about. It's like he's that. But hey, real quick, another crazy awesome shout out to our guy Logan, man. Jeez, Logan, I don't know what you're doing. You're funding the company right now at this point, my man.
We're gonna wind up getting some courtside seats
dude,
to this game
you ain't
because
lying.
of Logan, man.
Yeah, dude, seriously. Appreciate you so much for that super chat, Logan. That is awesome. He says, y'all boys enjoy another nice dinner. Leftovers can be allocated to Andrew's beer fund.
There we go.
Listen, last night, anytime I was in that mode of like, should I stop drinking? Should I maybe not get another thing? You know, or should we calm down? I would think about Logan's chat.
That's
I'm
true.
like, you know what,
man?
We
splurge a little bit.
We got to go a little bit. Tonight, I guess I'm going to have to get right back on the horse.
Yeah.
I'd actually determined, I was like, I'm not going to drink today.
Hair of the dog, man.
But,
Nah, you are.
yeah, tonight I'm fine.
Yeah.
I will say, and not to promote another business while in a business, KSBar bar. This place is awesome, KSBar. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's awesome.
Dude.
We had a lot of recommendations for Carson's. We went to Carson's for dinner last night. It was great.
Carson's
the
was well
service
worth
was
it.
awesome. The ambiance was awesome.
Yeah.
The food was great. I don't have anything bad to say about it. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
So,
It worked
thank
out perfectly where we went there at like, what was it, like 5:30 Eastern time. And there was a little bit of a wait, which we kind of weren't prepared for. We just went right across the street to East End, I believe is the name of that, and had a drink there. Then went over to Carson's and had a damn good meal.
Yeah,
there.
it was really
good
great.
time.
It was a great night.
I gotta tell, people have been really, really nice. Been really nice. I was telling you guys when we were coming over. I mean, I'm just saying.
It's not game day yet.
I got up this morning. I was like, I'm gonna get some fitness in, man. So I threw on a big Razorback hoodie, biggest hog you could see on the front of my hoodie. I just went running through Lexington, around Rupp Arena. We're over here by campus and anything. Nobody hit me with their car.
No, that's
You know,
good.
That was nice.
start.
Nobody. I didn't get mugged or anything. It's just people were nice, man. You know
Well,
what?
it's good.
They didn't care.
Yeah.
That's
Because apparently even Seth Greenberg didn't include the state of Kentucky doesn't care about this game, apparently. Yeah. Nobody cares. But no, everyone has been really nice. And because somebody was making the comment of like, hey, where's John's clown costume? Because remember we had that Kentucky caller that called in. He's like, when are you going to be there at KSBar? And what size are you? Because I'm going to bring you a clown costume to wear. Large.
If someone walks in here with one, I will put it on.
Sure, I'll wear it.
Gladly, yeah. But I think what we've learned on this trip, and we knew this, like we made some jokes. We didn't prepare to go to Lexington and wear bulletproof vests. Like we didn't think we were going to war. But it just confirmed what we already knew, which is the internet is not a real place.
Nope.
And the people who are yelling at us on the internet all day do not actually exist in the real world where people, at the games where where you have to pay to get in and at a place like this, a fine establishment. And so I was surprised, not surprised, but I was happy to be confirmed with that. And we've had nothing but nice folks here.
Even though Arkansas fans would argue to the contrary right now because the team's not any good this year, college basketball is better for this having happened. For Cal to dip,
100%.
him to be with the Razorbacks now, it just there's something to be said for the tradition of both of these programs though in the SEC, and this just spices it up, man. So the banter, the trash talk, that's part of it, man. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I mean, I remember when all this was happening, and I will keep saying it. The biggest mistake the SEC ever made was not giving Arkansas and Kentucky 2 games in the SEC season. I still will never understand why they didn't do that this year to do a home and home. So, but I fully agree as an Arkansas guy. If you were going to have one game with Arkansas Kentucky, it needed to be in Rupp. I fully agree there. Like it had to be in Rupp. But on top of that, though, I was really hoping that this would be a type of game, which different circumstances, but just like I know a lot of the older Kentucky fans probably remember of the Nolan Richardson, Rick Pitino days back in the 90s of just where these were the 2 programs that had been around a long time, had a lot of success, and they were always going to be ranked in the top 10, top 15, top 25 when they faced each other. And it was always one game a year. I'll never forget. It was always on Saturdays. It was always at 1 o'clock on CBS. Like, it was consistent. Yeah. And I was hoping that would kind of be something, at least here in the first year. And who knows, like I said, the rest of the future for both these programs, it may get to that point. But that is pretty much the only downside to this whole thing, is that Arkansas is not any good.
That's what's
yeah, it's just, man, it would have been so much more fun for everybody and for college basketball in general if these two teams were fighting for something, but only one of them seems to be at this point.
That was the thing about Eric Musselman, because there were some dog days there for Arkansas basketball, but everybody believed, and not just people in Arkansas, but like they should be in that upper echelon conversation in the SEC year in and year out. And so when Muss came, and all of a sudden you're right back there, and you're in the Sweet 16s, the Elite Eights, you're making the deep tournament runs, you're just relevant once again. That's why there was such a it felt like such a perfect marriage there, because hey, we lost a coach too, you know. It felt like such a perfect marriage because he was insane, Arkansas's fan base is insane, and it comes together and you have a lot of success, and it's like poking the bear, awakening the sleeping giant kind of deal. And so it's really disappointing how that just fell off a cliff last year with him. And then you wind up getting Calipari, and we know he's older. People say his best days are behind him or whatever. Maybe they're right. We'll see. But dang it, he comes in here and it gives you a little bit of a shot in the arm. That's why people were so excited about it, because we'll get the talent. Like, at the very least, they're going to win a bunch of games every regular season.
Yeah, and who knows, roll the dice in the tournament. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. We didn't even get the stuff that – because like we brought up so much, but since we have so many Kentucky fans that are watching us, listen to us, and also here, that was the thing that we got so much of when Cal was hired and Razorback fans were excited. It's like, hey, have fun losing in the first round of the tournament. Like, I mean, well, whatever. Now
I'm just trying to go to the first round.
I just love to be in the tournament at this point in time.
I don't know if y'all know about this. I was actually told this by a trusted Kentucky fan recently. He told me that John Calipari, one thing that he's going to do is he's going to bring in talented players and underachieve. That's like apparently like his thing. That's what he'll do. And so we didn't know about this. Nobody was aware of this, but I was really glad that that Big Blue Nation let us in on the secret and let us know that John Calipari, good recruiter, maybe not the best X's and O's guy, but it was good to hear that. But going back to the point of the fan bases and why this is so special, it's always been. I mean, Arkansas Kentucky is always a game that for decades we circle it on the calendar all the time. I'm like, oh, Kentucky's coming to town on this date. That's all. I mean, if you look at the top 10 best atmospheres we've ever seen at Bud Walton Arena, like 7 of them feature Kentucky,
quite a few
or
of them,
feature John Calipari or whatever. And so I think this kind of rivalry I guess we'll call it a rivalry. It always kind of meant something, and so you add this layer to it. And kind of the point you made, Curtis, there was a point in time where the SEC's cool at basketball now. Everyone cares about basketball now, but there was a point in time where in this conference, these were two of the only programs that really cared about basketball, that were year in, year out, living and dying with their team. And so I feel like Arkansas and Kentucky have that kind of bond in a weird way. Obviously, Kentucky fans probably don't feel that way about Arkansas. But this kind of game has always been special for Arkansas fans, at least, no matter what. And so you just add in all these factors, and it just makes it even more special.
These were the basketball brands in a football conference, and now the Alabama schools think they can hoop.
Yeah, and that's what's frustrating.
It's crazy.
What's going on, man? It's unbelievable.
Well, it sucks when they can actually hoop, too.
I know.
I know, yeah, they're both good.
Well, and I'll never forget, I brought this up, but shout out to Drew Franklin of KSR, because he drove me back to the Airbnb to get something that we needed and drove me back. So shout out to him. But I remember talking to him at SEC Football Media Days 2 years ago. And, Arkansas football, Kentucky football, it's not going to get all the same questions and same love to everybody. But we were talking about how there's a few similarities between the Arkansas college basketball fan base and Kentucky, where you're in the South, where for years, I mean, college basketball was always Northeast and, maybe West Coast, but, that was one of the few programs historically that were in the South that were always good. And there's a lot of history and tradition. Obviously, Kentucky is further and away much better of a program and won all that, but there's just similarities there. And then it was always that way. Arkansas obviously went through a lull with the Stan Heath days and John Pelfrey, which is also a former Wildcat, but that was like, it was just always there. But now when you see these new programs coming around, and me and Drew were talking about it feels like, okay, over Bama and Ops, relax, okay? It's like we got banners hanging up for Final Fours, championships, tournament appearances and all this stuff. And you guys discovered you had a basketball program 5 years ago, and suddenly you're like, hey, we're blue blood. We know we've arrived. It's like, know your role, know your place over there, buddy.
Well, how many programs in the SEC could have a game where one team is 1-6, the other's 4-3, and having a good year obviously has a ton of huge wins. But like on paper, if you're just looking at it from a basketball standpoint, it's not like people should really be that excited about this game. And I think obviously when you're playing the way Auburn's playing this year, it's really easy to get behind your basketball program when you're the number one team in the country, when you're top 5, when you're coming off of a huge year and you've got all these cool players. Yeah, it's easy to do that, but I think that's what I guess what makes Arkansas basketball fans in particular special is that it doesn't matter. Like, they're going to live and die, and obviously BBN, like, they don't have to live through a ton of dog days, but when they do, they're just as passionate. Like, that passion doesn't go away, whereas some of these other SEC programs, they're kind of the cool flavor of the month. But in 3 years, if Nate Oates leaves and Bama basketball goes back to being just kind of average, you're never going to hear from those guys again. I truly believe that.
No, not at all. And so I'm going to take all my wins I can, even though the team's 1-6 in SEC play, and Alabama and Auburn are having great years. I'll be like, well, I got history on my side, buddy. Like,
by all the wins you can take, you mean one. Now,
exactly. And
shout out to Georgia.
Yeah.
Shout out, thank you, Mike White.
Yes.
Thank you for
He's always good for it, man.
him and Dusty May.
Yes.
Those guys are good for it, for sure.
They always are. A few of your chats, folks. Again, we appreciate you tuning in with us here at KSBar. It's Inside Arkansas Live. Shout out to Nathan, a Big Blue Nation guy for the little super chat action. So he says, happy to have you all in Lexington and hope you enjoy your time here. Is this your first time you're going to a game at Rupp? It's going to be insane. Yes, first time in Lexington, period. So, we're going to – I felt like if there was one game in all of Rupp Arena history to go to, felt like this was probably the one to choose.
It made sense.
Probably a good one to make it out to. Yeah.
My brother did go to a game in Rupp. This was – hopefully this name doesn't get me shot. The Billy Clyde Gillespie days. And he went to a game when Arkansas, and of course Arkansas lost, but he talked about how, and that was years ago, I mean, was that 15, 20 years ago, but he talked about how massive the fan base is and how just, it's not saying it's one's better or the other, but you just, really see how many fans are there and how much you got people like tailgating, how many people see tailgating for college basketball games? Not very often. He's like, it's that type of thing. So, and I'm sure it's just been elevated again. So we're really excited about checking it out and seeing what it's like.
We're off to a good start too on our trip, I'd say.
We are. We're off to. We're
taking some dubs.
Start,
We're getting some dubs on our trip.
Yeah. So far, so good, man. I'm pumped about this because it's not too often that we get to go to an opponent's venue. Like we always make these trips and we go to the neutral site games or at the NCAA tournament or whatever. I guess all three of us went to the Baylor game a couple years ago. The SEC Big 12 Challenge.
Not together, but we were all there.
And that was cool. But I thought Arkansas was really, really well represented there. This will be probably the first experience I've had of a road SEC hostile type of environment because some of the ones in the league aren't that great, but Kentucky, Arkansas, going to Tennessee, those places, it gets crazy in there. And this is one of the few arenas that's bigger in terms of seating, right, than Bud Walton. So
was it 23,000? How many?
That's what Rick Patino said.
Yeah.
He said 23,000. I mean, it sounds
about
right.
Hey, Jack, how many people fit in Rupp Arena? 20,500. Okay.
So Rick was a little optimistic.
Yeah, a little crazy. So, because that's the thing with like Bud Walton. They say 19,200, but yet all their records are 20,000. So I'm like, okay, so where'd the extra 800 people go? You just fit them in the concourse,
standing room only.
Just
have them
counting the mascots in the concession, the little league team working the concession stands. But shout out to them. They got their jobs taken away because now that they serve booze, you can't have the kids serve. That's one of the great traditions of old time, but
that's tough.
Yeah, it's a rough look. A few chats here, folks. Again, appreciate you all. Arvin, Big KG says March Pope going to get it done Saturday, while Cancun Cal is paying ACUP $3 million not to flip to Michigan in March. Cancun Cal. That's pretty funny.
I hadn't heard March Pope yet.
March Pope is pretty good.
That is pretty good. Yeah.
Now, listen, I know we're at KSBar, so I feel like you have to have more than 0 NCAA tournament wins to be titled March Pope.
Yeah,
he can't have the nickname stick until they get it.
Right. You don't get to be Tom Izzo, until, which obviously, I mean,
Cancun Cal.
We got about 6 weeks left of making those jokes, though. But Cancun Cal is very good.
And that's as good. I hadn't seen that before, but but it's right there though. If Mark Pope does a really good job and ends up winning a lot of games in the tournament, March Pope's right there, and that's a good one.
That is good. Shout out to Big KG, who just invigorated Big Blue Nation. He's got them a new nickname, and that's gonna be good. Cancun Cal is funny.
Did Muss didn't really have a nickname, really. Like, as far as, I mean, he did really good in March, but it wasn't
nothing
like,
you can say on air.
No. Well, yeah, true. And at least not for a present company. But
every game was a must-win with him, though.
Oh, jeez.
It was a must-win.
Well, because what Rothstein was it the importer? Is that he called him?
The importer. Yeah. Which, by the way, he was the importer before the portal even really was a thing.
Mm-hmm. So he was the OG importer of the transfer.
And what portal. Is the last Corleone?
Yeah, that is who he is now.
Does Pope have a Rothstein thing?
I think he does.
It's
some religious based, I think, right, or something like.
Well, hold on. Who had more guards than Shawshank?
That I don't.
That was Jim Larinaga, right? Miami.
Was it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then it was also somebody also had a more consistent than a few good men on a rainy Sunday afternoon or whatever it was.
Rothstein's the goat. Like really, like I love that guy. I love his little bits that he does. It's great.
Keeping the faith. That's right.
Keeping the faith. Yeah,
keeping the faith. Okay, yeah. I do remember seeing that.
Yeah, something religious there. A few of your chats here too. Lord, I don't even know what this is, but
Mosh.
he said Mosh.
He's got to be silent.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think the M is silent. I think it's Posh.
He says, as a Kentucky fan, I will be booing Cal from my couch. I love those players, but Cal fed us line after line. Which lines are you talking about, man? What are you talking about?
He doesn't do that.
Yeah,
I've never heard him say anything twice.
He's never done that.
Year after year about wait until March. He chose to leave. We boo every opposing coach. Well, it's like we talked with our alumni hall question of the day. If I was a Kentucky fan, I would boo. If I was in the student section, I would be making the worst signs, like just because it's us against the world. You're not here anymore. We appreciate, but it doesn't matter. Like you're elsewhere. I know, not like you retired or anything like that. This is where you're at, so you're my enemy. Simple as that.
I got to be honest. Like I think that's a perfectly reasonable approach to take into it.
Yes.
Obviously the history and you never erase the history, but
I think
it would be hard to argue with anybody who's like, I'm gonna give him a little boo.
Dude, we even talked about it with Muss if he ever returned to Fayetteville. I know it's different because Cal was here for 15 years or whatever, won championships and all that. But the vast majority of people are like, I'm not going to boo. But there were some people that would. I think it's different circumstances also because, like, for instance, Mike Anderson. I think if Mike Anderson was, I know he did coach at St. John's, but if he was coaching some other team that came in, I think Mike Anderson would get a resounding ovation. It's about what it is, but it's about circumstances. And this circumstance, it wasn't thanks, man, handshake, and it's all great and all that. It wasn't that type of disconnect. It was just ended, and it was not very pretty. And
Muss returning to Bud would really be the only possible, and even that's a very different situation. He was only at Arkansas for 5 years compared to 15 and didn't win a national title. But Muss is he the only coach that we can think of that like left on his own terms? Because Mike Anderson, of course, was fired.
Yeah.
So and he came back to Fayetteville
and he got a
3 months
ovation.
later. It's like
crazy.
If you boo a guy for getting fired, it would be a little weird. You know?
Yeah, because people even cheered when John Pelfrey went back to Florida as an assistant. And he came back, and Florida beat the crap out of Arkansas. But
I would not have cheered for John.
No,
is Chad Morris the only fired Arkansas coach that would get booed? Because I really don't think. I mean, if they didn't,
I think Brett
Pelfrey,
Bielema would be.
Would he?
I think so.
I don't know, dude.
To this day, you still think?
I don't know, dude. There's a lot of Hog fans who are in the. I've seen more of the we should have never fired Brett than I do the I hate Brett.
But again, it goes back to circumstances. If you are in a better situation now than what you were with those coaches, it's a lot easier to cheer for them when they come back because well, we elevated, so we're glad you're gone because we got better. But if it's something like in the instance of say Brett Bielema, it's like, but are you in a better situation right now? You're gonna be like, no, I hate this guy because you left us high and dry and all this. Like it just depends on circumstances. That's the same thing with Kentucky fans. Like they're like right now, but say if Arkansas and Cal and Kentucky didn't play for 2, 3, 4 years, but Kentucky was going to Final Fours, I think it'd be a lot different circumstances or championships or whatever. Because they'd come in, they'd be like, hey, we appreciate it, but we got better. We're a better spot, so we don't hate you as much. It's just a matter of the circumstance that you're in.
When again, if it had played out and say Cal coach one more year at Kentucky, and then eventually they did come to a mutual I don't know if firing would be the term. I don't know how his contract would work, but if it was a mutual parting of ways, I think they would be much more inclined to give him a nice little golf clap or whatever it is. But yeah, circumstances matter.
Yep, they absolutely do. A few of your chats, folks, because I know we'll get to some other things. We were going to talk about this. It's unfortunate because we were even discussing before the show started about Hunter Yurchek's famous interview today and some of the stuff. But we're walking in and we're like, you know what Kentucky fans here care zero things about is what Hunter Yurchek had to say on an interview this morning. Like, they do not care one bit. So, but no, we will talk about that and get into it. But I guess go ahead.
I was going to say, according to John Calipari, when he was asked about it, that he has gone through the exact same thing 3 times, and so I assume that means here at Kentucky once, right?
He said he thinks they did it at Kentucky.
You talking about the seating situation?
Yeah.
Oh. So how many years were you at Kentucky? 13? 14, 12?
15 years, Cal.
It's over a decade.
2012.
I think it's 2011.
2011 to
year.
2014.
That's 2010 maybe. And it doesn't matter. It's over a decade. So in that particular case, so you're saying, well, hold on a second. I was told that this happens yearly at other places.
You were told that.
Yeah, it's amazing how that works. Amazing how that works. View your chats real quick. Comes from Patty Cake. Says, hey, John, I'm the young man who asked you about your radio show earlier. Just wanted to say y'all's cow impressions were spot on. He said, I almost crashed the car because I was dying laughing. Cats by 90.
I like that.
Dude, that is
It wouldn't be the first time that someone got in a wreck while listening to Inside Arkansas content.
It would not be.
Curtis has a few bodies on his resume.
Yeah.
It's true. You're going to have to answer for him, buddy.
Listen with your ears. Don't watch with your eyes if you're behind the wheel.
Please.
And thank you for that.
Yeah,
and,
seriously.
And pop out tomorrow if you can.
Well, and here's, because I had another person that tweeted at me when we were, because I've done that impersonation, or we've done the impersonation, but it's not anything crazy. You just have to, again, poll the audience on things, just and
ask rhetorical questions.
Yes, ask rhetorical questions.
We call it the Cal the Explorer routine, because he's very Dora the Explorer-esque, where he's like, do you see a red button?
Yes.
I see. It's like, it very much is like
that. Like, I mean, just being here at KSBar, I can imagine if he just walked in here, just be like, I know that there was going to be Kentucky fans here at KSBar. Did you know? Did you know? Ooh.
Who do you guys cheer
There's
for?
a lot of
Who do you
fans
guys cheer
there.
for?
Yeah. Are you guys going to boo me? I said you're going to boo me. Said you're going to boo me. Like, it's just, like, who are you talking to? He's like, you're talking to, like, these kids. They're
Jackson
just like,
Fuller
dude, just
and
give me
Daniel
my, yeah, exactly. Just give me my quotes, man.
Guess what? We won the game.
Yeah. Just, we won. And then what was the thing? I guess it was on Sports Center or ESPN, or when they beat, who was the team they beat?
Michigan.
That's right.
Game.
It was SVP, right? That he was on there with just, sure. What are you doing? Jeez. Blake also says Tony Vitello won't even be booed by parts of the fan base, including me.
Why would Tony Vitello be booed?
Because of the whole Dave Van Horn stuff that happened earlier.
Him and Dave Van, like,
Best
close
buds.
personal friends. Like, they, even after that, they've, like, hung out multiple times. And also, be honest, you want him to be the head coach. Like, at least I want him to be the head coach. Will he be? That dream is probably fading quickly as he continues to build a monster. But, no, I think Tony Vitello, I think he should be getting a resounding applause whenever Tennessee comes to town this year.
I think so, too. At least, he should be. He should be getting there. So, all right. Let's see. We got a few other things that we'll dive into here as well. I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and play this clip from Coach Cal, and we'll do about this. Let's see, where was it at? I just had it here. A letter to Kentucky fans. Want to do that? All right, let's go ahead and play that one.
Let's do it.
Kentucky.
Well, I'm an opposing coach walking in the building. And I get that. And I'm not bitter in any way. What I did was right for me and my family, but it was also right for Kentucky. And Mark Pope has done a fabulous job. He knows that program because he played in it. He was the right guy for that job. And I'm walking back into that environment. Yeah, there may be some boos. There may be a lot of boos. That doesn't change anything for me. It doesn't change the history. It doesn't change my history. None of that. My focus right now, so the last 2 days, I'm worried about Arkansas. I'm worried about getting this going. Do I have a soft spot for Kentucky? Yes. I was there 15 years. We gave our heart and soul, and not only to basketball, Yes, we did a lot of stuff in basketball during that time that was pretty special. But we also were involved in communities when there were flooding, when there were hurricanes. Superstorm Sandy, we did stuff. Stuff happened in Houston, different things within our state. Ellen and I did things that we didn't want in the paper, that you just did with people that we knew or people that we felt we needed to help. So, and I want to do the same here. I mean, there you had the tornadoes up in Rogers. We were up there. The governor was there. I cheat this seat if I don't get involved in those things. And I said the same thing when I was at Kentucky.
So there you go. Him just kind of laying it out. And I actually forgot about the Rogers tornadoes thing because I remember he was very much involved in that. Yeah. And I was talking to some of the guys here, and they agreed. They say what you want about Cal, whatever, but as far as getting involved with communities and all of that, dude's awesome. I mean, when Bob Holt passed away, I was all there, all in it. And in fact, he was the first one I remember publicly because we were, Curtis, I know you knew a little bit more than us. And we were really trying to, keep everything low key because we just didn't know. But he was one of the ones that first in a press conference mentioned, "Hey, just pray for for my friend Bob Holt." So, again, he's the stuff when he does with the community and him going all in on that aspect of being the Razorback coach. He is absolutely done. That's something that he has done for sure. So just wanted to give him a shout out
He's a good man, and he was also wearing a good looking quarter zip. Here
dude, sharp man.
Dude, they have those at Alumni Hall too. So if you want one of those, the Razorback baseball A, right?
Yeah. You think Cal was listening to Bombastic the other day, and then he was like,
100%.
I'm fired up for baseball season. I got to get me some merch, even though DVH danced on my grave as I was getting escorted out of Bud Walton Arena.
My guess is that. After DVH got wind that Sam Pittman called Cal, and he just sent him that as a gift, like, "Hey, I got your back, man. Wear this. It's what winners do."
Plus, Coach Cal got a damn good first pitch at Baum Walker last year.
He hummed it in there, man.
Dude,
pretty solid, yeah.
That was one thing when he was saying they were going to do the first pitch. The first thought I had is like, this has to be good because there's no way John Calipari is going to do something like that and just get roasted because it went over all the way to the backstop about 4 feet outside. And yeah, no, he tossed it in there. And I talked to some of the baseball players about that. I was like, what was that like? They said that they were, I guess, warming up in the outfield, and they all stopped. They're like, we had to see this. And it was just such again, for us, and at the time, because it was, what was it, maybe the second or third time we'd even seen John Calipari.
Yeah, that was when he was getting his money's worth on that first quarter zip that he wore. He was wearing it everywhere.
Yeah, Juracek threw it at him on the plane. It's like, here, put this on.
That's right. That's right. A few of your chats here, folks. Let's see. We got Carp Media says, do you all remember when Cal got tossed and we won at Arkansas for John?
Might be the most referenced moment between Arkansas and Kentucky that we talk about. It's a big deal.
And I'll say this, as somebody who has gone to many, many, many games in Bud Walton Arena history, there's no way to know one way or the other, but to me, that was still the loudest moment in Bud Walton Arena history.
Yeah.
Because that was Muss's first year. Arkansas wasn't a great team, but they were entertaining. There was energy. They still were in the mix for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
And I think Isaiah Joe had come back for that, right? I know he had that 5-game stretch where he was hurt, and Arkansas went 0-5. I'm pretty sure he was, but still, it was Kentucky coming to town, and Arkansas just got a foul call, and when he got ejected, man, I believe one of the media members from Kentucky always referenced it. He said that was the first time that Bud Walton committed physical assault against his eardrums.
Yeah.
So
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, and I'll say this to any Kentucky fans because we have a lot of them tuning in, which we do appreciate. Maybe not right now is a great time to say this, but if you ever have a chance to go to Bud Walton Arena when the game is rocking, it's a pretty cool experience. Nick Rush over at KSR came for that game, and he said it was an awesome atmosphere. So,
yeah, for sure. That game was crazy, man, because it was the first prove-it opportunity for Muss because they didn't play that tough of a schedule. I guess they had already beaten Indiana. Maybe that was the Thanksgiving thing against Georgia Tech. But it was like neither one of those teams are great. That was like the first showcase home game. Are these guys for real?
Post-COVID type, or I guess pre-COVID stuff.
Yeah, and listen, I'm just going to throw this out there. In that game, Kentucky crumbled under the leadership of Cal. He got ejected. And
then,
Kenny Payne won him the game, and that win doesn't go on Kenny Payne's record, and he needs it.
Yep.
I don't think it's fair.
He could really afford to have a win on his record.
He needs that one.
and
man.
Kenny Payne made sure that, or Cal made sure Kenny Payne did the press conference afterwards too, so he didn't have to. He just said Kenny Payne in there.
He was like, I really like the way that felt. Telling Kenny Payne to go to the press conference, I'm gonna run that one back.
Hey man, he pulled one out of the hat against
That's
us.
great.
He said after the game, he was like, "I didn't expect Kentucky to go zone.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you?" And they did. That was crazy, man.
Yeah, what was it? Because that was also like the first game Dick Vitale had been in Arkansas and forever. Calm down, John. Calm down. Like he just kept saying that over and over again. It's like he knew what he was doing. But no, in that game, Isaiah Joe and Mason Jones did both play in that. Can you name the leading scorer or there's 3 players that had double-digit points? Can you name them?
For Arkansas?
Yeah. I mean, 2 of them are obvious.
I mean, Mason and Isaiah, I would assume. Adrio Bailey.
Nope.
Jimmy Witt.
Jimmy Witt.
Head of him.
Oh, yeah. Well, he
was
had a
good
great
for
year
it,
that
man.
year.
He was good
He was
for
8
it.
of 8 from free throw line in that one. Also,
Mid-range assassin.
certified bucket Desi Sills went 1 of 6. But Adrio Bailey did have 6 points. Arkansas only played 7 players. That was back when.
Who came off the bench? Reggie Chaney and
Jalen Harris.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He played 28 minutes, Jalen Harris.
Had a baby.
Yeah. I can't believe Arkansas didn't make the tournament that year. It's crazy.
Now they only had 2 other scholarship guys because that was a 9-man scholarship. So it was Gene Talsilla, who didn't play in that game.
Because Connor Vanover wasn't eligible because they had him on the roster.
Note wasn't eligible. Bebe wasn't eligible. Who was the other guy?
Oh, this is going to drive me crazy.
There's
was it?
more.
Oh, it was
Cheney was on that team, though, right?
Yeah,
Cheney was on that team.
Wasn't it Ethan Henderson?
Ethan
Ethan
that's
Henderson.
Right. Ethan
Yeah,
Henderson.
because I mean, it was literally just Mike Anderson players plus Jimmy Witt and Gental Silla. I mean, that's pretty much what it was. So
What a squad.
yeah, because I look back too, and that was when Kentucky was number 10 in the country, 13-4, 4-1 in conference. Arkansas was 14-3, 3-2 in conference. So they were still fighting for something in that moment. But yeah, man, crazy times looking back on all that.
How do you remember the Gene Talsilla legacy, Arkansas?
I remember not being able to say his name for a while, and then I was like, oh well, Muss is. I hear that he's the importer, that he'll find these diamonds in the rough that'll really come above. And
I was operating under that assumption at the time too, and I was doing the whole listen. Anybody who scores 1,000 points in college, they're good. They can play, and he fits the play. He's a look at Muss's his teams in Nevada. They were all 6'7", switchable, could space the floor. Yeah,
we had seen so many 6'7" power forwards at Arkansas. I was just like, he'll fit right in.
Yeah, it'll be perfect for him. Jeez, man, those were crazy times. See, we talk about. Maybe we do this throughout. I'm always curious, like if you ask Kentucky fans when they think Kentucky Arkansas, like what's the first game that pops into their mind for that one? Because I mean they've won a lot, but is there one in particular to be like back in the 90s in Arkansas and Nolan, or would it be
they probably
when they beat them by 30 with Malik Monk and all those guys?
They probably remember Qualls putting it on their head.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times with random teams like that, I remember bad things that happened. Because I'm like,
true.
oh, yeah, that dude from Arkansas with the buzzer beater dunk, or I don't know.
I think the year whenever Arkansas had Portis and Qual, the year after the buzzer beater, when Arkansas was the second best team in the SEC, had a great year in Kentucky that year. That was the
is that the year they went undefeated
until they lost
Final Four?
Yes. But you had the Karl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker. They beat Arkansas, I believe, 3 times that year. And so it was like maybe winning those games at the time. That was like the best. Those were like the best wins.
No, they only played once because Arkansas never played that team in Bud Walton, but they did play him because they played him in the SEC tournament title. And I remember being so mad about that because I'm like, the one year that Arkansas probably would win the SEC in forever. Yeah, they won't because Kentucky's just so much better than everybody else.
Is that the only time ever where the top 2 regular season teams meet in the tournament final? They were the top 2 regular season, top 2 conference, and like that's just what it was.
I don't even know who won the SEC tournament last year.
I don't either.
I never can remember SEC tournaments unless Arkansas loses in the title game, which they did a lot.
I feel like it's Auburn or Alabama.
Auburn, yeah, I don't know.
One of the two. I actually think it was Alabama. I think
Alabama's won it a lot here lately, or they've been in the mix a lot here lately.
Yeah. Arkansas's won 1, so there's that.
And they needed to win it.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Thank you, Joe Johnson, for being ISO Joe and getting it done. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into this because I know that this is something that's been on people's minds. Hunter Yurachek, the athletic director for the University of Arkansas, has been doing the car wash rounds with all the media members, obviously, and doing press conferences and being asked questions and everything like that. Well, he went on the Truck and Bow show, this morning, and with the new things that we discussed yesterday as far as reseeding, your people have a reaction to it. All right, and I think that anytime that you have to hear from the horse's mouth of Hunter Yurchek and what would be said and talked about, it's kind of good to hear from that aspect. Well, we'll just play this clip and we'll give our reactions to it because it's pretty fascinating stuff here.
We're, beyond the high-end donors. Let's say you're an Arkansan. You got a couple of $1,000. I'm going to give you $2,000, Hunter, for my basketball tickets, and then I'm going to pay for the tickets. But I want to know how good a seat I can get. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, and so the process is, Chuck, to try to, because I've had a Razorback Foundation staff really muddle it down for me so that I can understand it and explain it in layman's terms. Yeah. And so we have a process now that where you can make your commitment to the Razorback Foundation between now and March the 31st. And then on April the 1st, the Razorback Foundation is going to send out a men's basketball season ticket request card. And you will fill out that season ticket request card about how many tickets that you would like in Bud Walton Arena. Now, that's just a request card. It doesn't guarantee. And there are specific levels. So you're saying at a Wild Hog, if you gave $2,000, you would be eligible to request 2 season tickets. And so you request 2 season tickets at that $2,000 level. And then when we get to June 30th, that's the deadline to request tickets. On July 1st, we'll see, also on June 30th, you have to complete your donation. So you make your pledge by March 31st. You complete it by June 30th. Your season ticket request card is in by June the 30th. And then on July the 1st, our Razorback Foundation staff and our ticket office staff will begin accumulating and totaling all of those requests for season tickets. And then our Diamond members at the top will be assigned a time that they can go online in the Bellina system and pick out their seats. And the Diamond members will pick in order of priority points. And so if you've been a loyal member for 40 years and now you're at the Diamond level, you're going to have not only the points for every dollar you've given, but the points for the years that you've been in the Razorback Foundation. And the Diamond level will pick, if there's 100 people in the Diamond level, number 1 will pick first, number 100 will pick 100, and then we'll move on to the Platinum level. And those people in the Platinum level be ranked 1 through whatever the end number is, and they'll pick. And then you move on to the next level. And so that's why I said that there will be many changes to seats in Bud Walton Arena. Some people are going to improve their seats. Some people are not going to improve their seats. But here's one thing that was really key for me is that if you have a season ticket right now in Bud Walton Arena, you will get an opportunity to have those season ticket at that quantity in Bud Walton Arena for the 25-26 season. It most likely will not be the same seat, but you will be in Bud Walton Arena in 25-26 if you want to.
Okay. There's a lot there, guys.
That last line, I feel like, really sticks out to me. And I don't think he meant for it to be a negative thing, but he literally said, my big thing with this whole thing is if you currently have season tickets in Bud Walton Arena, he didn't say you're guaranteed going to have tickets. He said if you have tickets now, you will have an opportunity to maybe get different seats in Bud Walton Arena. And really, we're going to have to go through the line, and we're going to have to make sure the Diamond level guys don't get all their seats. And we'll go through. He conveniently did not address. Chuck asked about if I'm given 2,000. He didn't say anything about that level because those guys, as he probably knows, are going to get the short end of the stick. Like that's one of the lower ones. He went through the Diamond and the Platinum, and if you give a lot of money, some of these guys are going to get even better seats. They're going to upgrade or whatever. He did not guarantee that you were going to have tickets. He just guaranteed that you were going to have an opportunity to pay to have a chance to maybe have a chance to pay for extra tickets. It was like it was not the most comforting thing in the world if you're a Razorback fan who has season tickets and is worried about being priced out.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of part of his thing about, no, you're not going to be priced out of Bud Walton Arena. You just will probably be priced out of your seat to a worse seat. And it's I've sent a handful of text messages to people I know from other places, and this isn't like the most uncommon thing in the world. It's just so tone deaf given the situation. I know that schools are trying to figure out where can we come up with this money for revenue, whatever. That's not the point. It just seems like it seems like a shady dealing,
It is.
man. And like if that's the way you got to do it, and if they do that at other places, like whatever. But I would have a hard time making that full donation, requesting the maximum number of tickets for my tier,
which is 2, by the way. If you're paying low,
which is
it's
2 for that, yeah. And then you just might not get that because, like he said, they're gonna get all the requests when at the end of that date or whatever. So just add them all up in the calculator, and then you go, okay, we have this many seat requests, we have this many seats. So who are we gonna tell? Hey, thank you for your $10,000 donation. We see that you requested 4 seats. Yeah, we can give you 2. Thank you for already doing that. We can give you 2, and then you can pay for all those. And yeah, we know where you sat before, but we're going to move you up several rows. You know what I mean? It just so basically what they're doing is asking for more and giving you less assurances and then probably less overall. That's a tough sell, man. And he was doing some of the math. I heard a little bit later of I think they have 2,900 accounts for Bud Walton Arena for this kind of stuff, and they're trying to get it to 3,300. So that's 300 to 400 additional people that he thinks are going to sign up for this, and that's also not including the people who got this news yesterday and they're like, "I'm out, bro. Like I'm not doing this. I can't afford to do this. This is crazy." If they hit that goal, then they get to a certain amount of the money that they feel like they have to get earmarked for the revenue sharing thing. Like they're going to have to really sell me on that plan.
Well, and I'm going to try not to go on a heated and emotional rant about this, but I am, like we have known, I know we've talked about it, but I for sure, I've been really fed up and disappointed with so many things have been handled in this athletic department. And it's as big of a deal as how you've handled coaching hires or not coaching situations to how the marketing and promotions are of the programs. Like to me, it's a disaster. And you have done such a phenomenal job, U of A and the Hunter Yurchek administration, everything, to making things as difficult as they need to be during a time where no success is happening in the major sports. Like you have done so much to try and turn people away. This should be the time where you see those people that are at the game every single day and every single time, no matter what, they're there and they've been there and they've been doing it. Instead of saying, well, if you still want to do that, pay us more money. No, you need to try to embrace those types of fans because those are the ones that are going to keep this going. Those are the ones that are going to be around forever. Those are the ones that are doing that. And I am not stupid enough to think that, like, yeah, it's a business. If you get paid more money, if you get more money, you're going to get better seats. That's the reality, and that's fine. I totally get that. But to set this up in such a confusing and a complicated way, and then to communicate it at this point in time where there's just, we got to be competitive. We're talking about Texas. We're number one and all. And if you want to be competitive in the SEC, okay. But this ain't it. This is not the direction that you need to go. Where what I took from this is that the University of Arkansas and the athletic department, whatever, the reason they're needing this money is not because of, we just need the money to be competitive. It's because they have failed so miserably at spending the money in the right ways and handling things the right ways that they are in desperation mode. And so they're having to turn to the fans, be like, hey, if you guys don't pay us, it's going to be on you. It's going to be on you because you're not going to be competitive because you're not paying enough, even though Arkansas is in the SEC. They do have a lot of money coming in. They do have all this revenue, but I've asked this question to you guys too. Where is it all going? It's not going to facilities. It's not going to NIL. It's not going to. So where is it going? Well, apparently they need now even more. And if you don't give more, then I guess you're not serious about being competitive in the SEC. I hate the way that this has been handled. And I hate the way he's communicated it. And I feel for fans where, what he say? He's like, we've got 40 calls about this stuff. Yeah, or 40 people that said that they're going to up it. The reason they're upping it is because you gave them no choice. The reason they're upping it is because you're like, hey, if you want to keep those great seats that you've had in your family for generations, hey, you're going to have to pay more. And I guarantee those people are like, dude, why are you doing this? Are you serious? I have to do this? Right? Yeah, sorry. Well, I got to keep those seats. All right, I'll pay it. They weren't gladly like, man, thank you. I can't wait to pay $40,000 to sit in the seats that my grandfather sat in. Like, it's completely and totally tone deaf. And I am so sick of the U of A continuing to push away the common fan, the people that make this state and this program so enjoyable to talk about and cover, it seems like they're doing everything to try to push him away.
And I agree with the sentiment of what both of you guys said is that this is a business. Obviously, the goal is to make money. And like you were saying, Curtis, it's not like it's the most unprecedented thing. Like, obviously, everyone at school, and look, Arkansas has been selling out their season tickets the last 4 years. So it almost makes sense for them to try and capitalize on that and say, okay, well, if we're going to keep selling these tickets, we're going to have to do all these things. So it's not even really that I have a problem with the premise of it. But like you said, John, it's the fact that it's coming at this particular time while the team is 1-6, and while everyone is on edge, worried about the atmosphere. Everyone's been. We've talked about it all year long, and we got a lot of crap for it when we first started bringing it up. But now at this point, everyone agrees that the atmosphere is taking a step back. Everyone's been worried about, because in baseball a few years ago, people that were season ticket holders that had seats behind home plate for years, something like this happened and moved them down. Now you're down by the third baseline. That didn't go over well. So a lot of people have that kind of fear already. And maybe it won't be that bad when it all actually plays out, but I don't think this is going to ease anyone's concerns in that regard. And we just talked about this disconnect between the fan base and the U of A, and I feel like this epitomizes that in a big way. And I get why fans would be upset.
Yeah, and my question is, like, when does it stop?
Yes.
When does it stop?
Yeah.
Because we, he's standing up on his podium and, telling everybody to donate more. Oh, you want better? And it was the whole thing with Arkansas Edge, which didn't work.
Yes.
And it's like that responsibility continues to get placed on the fans. And then now we've got the situation where, we've had to cut some expenses, but boy, we've got to do this and this to make sure that we have X amount of dollars. That goes on the fans. And all that fans have been asking for the entire time is for him to go up there and speak to the situation with his football program and everything else. He can't do that, but he can go on the radio and talk about all the reasons why you need to continue to pay more and more and more and more and more and more money. That wears people thin. I absolutely get it. Whether it's the right way for them to handle this or it's what they've got to do, it's the cost of doing business or whatever they say. It just rubs people the wrong way when you continue to come to them with your hand out, but you're not really giving them anything in return with the other hand.
Right.
And
it just cannot be overlooked that I read, Matt Jones of Whole Hog Sports article. We referenced it on the show yesterday, not the Matt Jones of Kentucky Sports Radio, the Arkansas Matt Jones, and not that Arkansas Matt Jones, the different one. But in his story, there was a lot of quotes about revenue sharing, and that was a big reason. That was a big driver in this whole conversation, is because now the university has to pay. They have to share the revenue with the athletes, and so they have to be prepared for that. Y'all remember less than 2 months ago when Sam Pittman did a press conference and cited revenue sharing as the big selling point of why Arkansas football was going to be better. He was like, we're going to go crush it out in the transfer portal because of revenue sharing. It's this awesome, cool little thing that we have. That didn't work out. Arkansas put together the worst transfer portal class they've had under Sam Pittman. Maybe that changes in the spring. Maybe it doesn't. But just on paper, it didn't really plan out the way they did. And now revenue sharing is being cited as the reason why fans have to get more money, which goes back to your point of you're not giving you anything with the one hand and you're asking for more money, and you're kind of admitting, and there's just so much inconsistency in the messaging that goes out to fans.
And I will also add this too. I'm not somebody who's ever going to blame anybody for trying to get more money in their own right and in their own jobs and everything like that. But here's the deal. Yurchek talks about, 10th in the SEC, 10th in the SEC. Yurchek is the 5th highest paid athletic director in the SEC. Okay, so Yurchek, some of these expenses that you're talking about cutting, why don't you make some pay cuts there? I'm not saying he should, but my point is if you're going to take that approach, what do you expect? Because Arkansas's coaching staff in football is one of the least paid in the SEC. Mm-hmm. The basketball side of things, yes, John Calipari makes a ton of money, but there's a chicken man that helps out with a lot of that element.
He said today that some of those sports that are have been approved to get the additional assistant coach on staff, that they're not adding.
Yeah, they're not. Exactly. Yeah. They're not adding the 4th assistant coach. Dave Van Horn, I know, gets paid pretty handsomely, but I still don't think it's number 1 in the SEC or anything like that. And then, of course, Mike Neighbors, good grief, you can't fire anybody because you can't afford buyouts. Again, you have all this money, and what was it? Daniel Shee had that article, right, about the revenue and how Arkansas was like the most revenue that they've made in a year, I believe, or something like that. I'm like, where is it going? And there's no answer for that. Where did it go? If you're needing this desperation, because I think me and you, Andrew, talked about it before when we were there earlier. I'm like, I think that they sent out that email because they went to their bigger donors. They went to these people that were, they're saying, hey, we could probably get them. And all of them are like, go kick rocks. Get out of here with that. I'm not giving you more money. And so they're like, well, maybe if we just send this mass email out, there'll be 40 people calling us. And I just think I think they hit the nuke button. They got desperate because they've been spending stupidly with the money. And this is their way out, and then they can turn it around on the fans that if we don't get this money, if you're not up in your thing, then I guess you guys don't want to be fans. I guess you guys just hate the Hogs. That's how it's going to be.
When does Arkansas get that anonymous special donation of $200 million or what?
Yeah, Mississippi State gets a new one every freaking week, bro. They have people coming out of the woodworks.
Yes. And that's the thing too.
And these are also programs that are not massive moneymakers. Hell, we saw that revenue list. Mississippi State and Missouri are well below Arkansas on that list, and they have random people. They have real big name donors that are coming up and paying for that kind of stuff, which just speaks to the point that if you're relying on your fan base to pay the bills, you're doing something wrong. That in this era, that is just not the way to go about it. It ain't gonna be the fans that get you a top roster. It's gonna be John Tyson.
Yes.
It's going to get you a top roster.
Yes, and it goes to also, and we're going to get Jack Pilgrim on here in a second because I'd like to get his thoughts on this. It's always about, this is just how it is in the SEC. It's everywhere. I don't see any of the other SEC schools going through this stuff where they're having to go to the fans and going to people where they're already donating so much money and saying, like, hey, if you want to keep your tickets that you've had forever and come and watch this 1-6 in the SEC basketball team, you're going to have to double your money, and then we're going to scale back your tickets. And because we want to be able to have more people have those opportunities, and you're just like setting it down, and it's like you have no choice. And it's just part of it. It's part of the process. Now, is it though? Because I don't see if this is a big money issue and all that. I mean, you mentioned Missouri. Missouri's doing a pretty good job, I feel like, in their athletic department. As much as I hate that dork Eli Drinkwitz, he's doing some good things and winning. Dennis Gates has a basketball team that's doing really well after going 0-18 last year. What about Ole Miss? I mean, sheesh.
Russian.
Yeah, so don't give me that crap. That is it's just the way it is. I don't see any other SEC school struggling with this. And I don't see any other SEC school taking this approach. You're the ones taking approach because I still believe you screwed the pooch and you are panicking about it.
And then there's mixed messages there, too, because we hear that this is not an Arkansas-specific problem, and everyone's dealing with this. Then on the other side of the mouth, he's saying, well, Arkansas, we're actually in better position than most Power 4 schools.
Yeah, what does that mean? Like
what
how?
Is it?
Yeah, like how can
how
can you say you're that highly ranked in the low ranked in the SEC, but we're better than most Power 4 schools? So where is it going? What is your? That's one. And again, we'll never get Hunter Yurachek to ever get to talk to him because we're not state media. We're not part of the propaganda machine. But I would love to just be like, hey, what I'd love. You're not. He won't answer, but I want to know what it is that you have failed at when it came to because I can sympathize. College is changing in sports. Like it's crazy how fast it's changing. It's hard to keep up with. But I want to know where did you go wrong? Because this is a you problem. What did you screw up? Did you fire the wrong person? Did you hire the wrong person? Did you spend something on money that you shouldn't have? Where did you go wrong with this? Because something has changed. Something has happened over the past year or so, and it doesn't seem like anyone has a straight answer on why.
And to that point, John, it does seem like every time we hear from decision makers at Arkansas, it always sounds like they're playing catch up. It's always like we have to do this so we can catch up to the other SEC teams. Although even though we're apparently in a much better situation than other Power 4 teams, which I thought was hilarious. That he was like, we're better than other Power 4 teams. The SEC, we suck, but
that is the message within the message.
Exactly. And again, it's always this thing of here's what we have to do. And he said, if we want to compete with these other SEC teams, what the hell do you mean if we want to compete? What do you mean if we? When did that become a question? When did that discussion happen where we had to decide, all right, do we want Arkansas to be competitive or not? And again, I just think it speaks to the overall messaging that you get from the University of Arkansas, which they showed in practice by retaining Sam Pittman and telling you to just shut up and deal with it. I don't think they view themselves in that upper echelon of teams that are really competing at a national level. And I think Yurachek is trying to kind of, I'm not saying he's placing the blame on the fans, but he's trying to do the thing of,
he's passing the buck.
If you guys will help us, maybe we can be good. And it's like, when did that become a thing where you're really relying on fan donations to make you a competitive team? That's never how college sports have worked, and that's not how they work now.
And going to the point, I'm glad you brought up, Curtis, about the Arkansas Edge. That doesn't exist. They don't promote it. They don't care about it. So you're not doing it for NIL. The Bud Walton deal as far as renovating, it's not even on the table anymore.
Yeah.
So what is this money going to do? What is it for? You said to be competitive in the SEC. For what? You're not building facilities with it. You're not using it for NIL. So what is it? But nobody has a straight answer, and they just expect. And here's where I really get pissed off, is because it's the arrogance that they have of talking to just a bunch of dumb fans in Arkansas. Hey, just listen to us because we know better. We know the best thing. And if you want to be a part of this school that you love and that you put all your money into, we know better than you. And I don't have to acknowledge, I don't have to be responsible or held accountable for any of the mistakes that I made as an athletic director. That's the problem. There is nobody, like in coaches, media can ask questions. People demand. They're like, I'm not going to donate anymore, all this stuff. But athletic directors like Hunter Yurchek, where's the accountability in saying, hey, I didn't handle this right, or hey, I made a mistake in this. We got to do this differently. It doesn't exist. And so he's just going to roll with it. And again, like we talked about, turning it back on the fans. And I think that's a disgusting way to run your athletic department. I hate the fact that we're even having to talk about this and discuss this. And I would love nothing more to invite Hunter Yurchek on with us so we could ask him, and not in an attacking way, but in an honest, truly inquisitive, getting the information. I would invite him on to talk with us about this, because I feel like the disconnect continues to grow day by day because of what this whole thing that they've done is, again, shows and is indicative of how badly they have screwed up so many things about the University of Arkansas, and handling something as simple as, we just need to get more money. Y'all have blown it. You continue to blow it. And I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but I am just fed up with the way that this has been handled, and I just wish something would change for many reasons.
Big in hell.
Sheesh. Yeah, you thought I was going to be fired up against Kentucky on Saturday. I was like, I don't know what's the biggest rivalry right now, Arkansas-Kentucky basketball or Arkansas versus Hunter Yurchek, their athletic director. But, I mean, it was just, I know we want to talk about it, and, we talked about it, some other things too, but I don't know. I just feel for the fans. I really do. And I feel
I hate it. We should play Cal's. Do we have that?
Yeah, we do.
Which, by the way,
he was asked about it.
Cal, I'll just say this before I play the clip, had a lot more confidence that nobody was going to get priced out of Bud Walton Arena than Hunter Yurchek portrayed on the radio.
Yeah. Let's here. I'll go ahead and neck it. It's So this is about the reseeding and everything, and Cal's response. Y'all heard Yurchek's talk, but here's Cal's response to that.
Is there any concern about maybe pricing out those kind of families?
I've been through 3 of these now, and all the places did it, and they did it for the right reasons. You just don't want to leave anybody behind, especially people who have been there since the mid-'90s. And Hunter has been on this. This is not a process that was 6 months. This is years in the making. And I think he really thought it through. Like, if you have a seat, you're going to have a seat. So you may have to move a little bit, but you're going to have your ticket. And that's what he told me. And I said, that's we just can't forget about those people who have been there and had their father there, their grandfather there, that, have been big and supporters of this program. And I think the administration's got that, and they know it. It's painful. To be honest, it's painful. And again, 3 different places. UMass, I think we did it at Kentucky. And I believe we did it at Memphis at some point, because we moved, though, from the Pyramid to the FedEx Forum. So, yeah, that's all part of athletics and the changing environment.
Okay. There's a lot of things we're going to uncover from that. First off, Cal, was a lot more sympathetic than Hunter Yurchek was to the fans. And saying that he was 100%.
Said what he needed to say there while acknowledging the business decision aspect of it.
He came across extremely more sympathetic, one. Mm-hmm. And 2, when originally I heard when he said, only 3 times, I thought he meant 3 times at Kentucky. Oh. He was saying 3 times in his entire coaching tenure.
Some odd years.
And even at Kentucky, he's like, I think we did it at Kentucky when I was there. So you go on here, somebody say, hey, this happens SEC everywhere, on top of that. And also, let me add this too. Cal, when he went through it, what was Memphis doing when he was there? Winning. I feel like I'm Cal now. What were they doing? Winning. Yeah, we were doing winning. And then the same thing with Kentucky. Like, what were they doing? Winning. So, yeah, it's easier to do it that way. But it's like, that first year, team's not good, give money. Like, again, I felt like Cal came across a lot more sympathetic to the common fan than what Yurchek did.
We keep going back to the tone deaf aspect of it, too. And that's I mean, they got to do these things. I get it because of time frames. He mentioned all the stuff that has to happen before they can actually give out the tickets or whatever. But given some of the stuff that was going on with the football program, then now basketball is just in the freaking pits, and it's
terrible.
like, oh well.
It's part of doing business.
And that just makes it worse, worse than it already is, because I don't know that this would be, matter of fact, I do know this would not be well received under any circumstances.
No.
But people would be a little bit more apt to hear it out if it's like, oh yeah, here's Cal, and he's got his Burger Boys, and the top transfers are awesome, and they're 16-2 right now, getting ready to go to Kentucky or whatever. At least people would hear it a little bit better, but now on top of everything else, it's like, man, get the hell out of here with that.
And it comes back to how you frame it a little bit.
Yep.
Like how Cal, he was like, hey, it kind of sucks, but this is what you got to do. This is part of athletics. This is part of a business. And he's right about that. And we've touched on that as well, that it's not like we're that offended by
get it.
What it is.
We get it.
The action in itself. It's how it was framed, and it's how it was portrayed to fans in this email that, like I said yesterday on the show, when I saw the email, I got excited. I was like, oh, shoot, this is like they're going to do something cool. Maybe they're going to move the student section. Like, this is what fans were wanting. And it wasn't that. And it was framed as, no, this is awesome. This is awesome. Trust me, you're going to love this. You got to give us more money for your ticket that's going to be in the rafters now. It was framed as this cool thing that was supposed to – and Jurczyk literally today on the radio was like, this is a great thing. Fans are going to embrace this. They're going to love this. That's not true.
Yeah, what fans?
If you're gonna do something like this, which again you have to do, it's college athletics. It's a business. Framing it like this is like this win for the fan base is just not the way to go about it. Especially because fans aren't idiots. They know. Like they're like, how is this actually good? I'll play by a lot of the donors will play by the rules. We'll do what they got to do because it's just again the direction it's moving. But don't sit here and lie and be like, no, this is awesome for the fans. Y'all are going to love this.
I'd almost respect it so much more if he just approached it as like, I know this sucks, and I know that this is something that nobody wants to do, and I hate to do this, but this is just the way we have to be able to handle being in the SEC and being competitive. Like, I'd almost appreciate that a lot more because it even if he's lying about it, it comes across as just being like, hey, fans, I know, like, no one wants to do this. You don't want to do this, but we got to do it. Like, it's about the approach. And on top of everything else where, Jurczyk's, as I've mentioned before, been MIA for so long. He doesn't communicate with anybody these days. And the program's been suffering. And really for a year and a half, close to 2 years now, the major sports have all been pretty disappointing. And, we know that he tried to get that Texas A&M job. He wanted it bad. He got rumored with the South Carolina job and all that. And then you're coming, I'm like, dude, you're taking more L's than someone I've ever seen. Like, your approval rating has gone through the toilet in a very quick time. And you have nobody to blame but yourself. Nobody to blame but yourself. So.
And I also need to, we don't really have to get too far more into the weeds of this, but I'm thinking about the things that don't necessarily add up to me, because part of the positive spin on it was, well, now people who want to improve their standing or improve their seating have the opportunity to do that. But then as part of his explanation, that's not really true. Like, you might be able to up your money to that diamond whatever tier is, but then he said that it's kind of going based on seniority. Like, so the people who've been donating the longest or whatever, if there's 100 of those people, then they get it first. And if you're the last one in line, then you're 100th in line. So maybe, but it's also, it almost seems like that's not even really the setup. The setup that he's selling is not really the setup that they have, if I'm understanding that right. So there's a lot of things about it I need to.
It's so vague in some regards, and that's where it's like, man, if you put out an email, a press release type thing, and then you have him be asked questions by the state media there in talking after those two things, and people still don't know what's going on and why, then you that's on you. That you failed at that. You have failed at that. So, man, it just pisses me off. I don't know if anyone could tell. But either way, appreciate the super chat, Larry. Thank you.
Thanks.
Had a beer on.
Wasn't Larry Brown the name of that burger joint?
Was it?
I don't know. It was something like that. Jack Brown.
Jack Brown. Okay. Yeah. So, but thank you. Yeah, we appreciate the super chat.
Larry Brown has an invite to the game Saturday from Cal.
Oh, that Larry Brown.
Yeah.
Yes, that guy. Jeez. Also, JP Sullivan said, "Preach, John." Appreciate the super chat, JP. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Hey, Jack, you want to come on with us? I'm sorry. We've been ranting and raving over here. Yeah. Come on over whenever you're ready, man. So we got Jack Pilgrim of KSR joining us because I want to get his thoughts on the Kentucky side of things when it comes to all of those deals and discussing it as well. So, but hey, first off, Jack, we appreciate you letting us come and hang out in your sweet bar. I'm going to just say it's yours. So, but yeah, how's it going?
You're very welcome. I am the reason why you guys are able to sit here. Yeah. Totally not true.
Yeah, Jack's been over here just working like crazy there for KSR.
Grinding over there.
Yeah, so we'll talk a few things, but I've been hearing us yelling at each other, yelling at the clouds. But what is, I'm going to ask Kentucky, since you cover Kentucky, you're here in Lexington. What is the relationship for fans with the athletic director in the current state of NIL and
revenue sharing,
all that? Like, what is that connection feeling like currently?
A whole heck of a lot better than it was last year, I think. There's a lot of back and forth when Cal was still there, and just their relationship was not very strong, and just like, what are we putting our money toward? What is it, the budgets? Can we afford a new practice gym? And like, there was a lot of just kind of the the push with that. Mitch Barnhart is just very much a, hey, I care about the women's soccer team as much as the baseball team, as much as the football team, as much as the basketball team. And I think there's just an understanding of like what Mitch Barnhart's priorities are. And so I think when you have a new level of excitement with Mark Pope and just kind of a resurgence of the fan base, getting that fresh breath of fresh air with Pope here, there really has not been any pushback. I mean, it's been a pretty, I think Mitch Barnhart is getting a pat on the back himself for making such a polarizing decision at the time when he did decide to go with Mark Pope. That the kind of the decisions that are coming with the revenue sharing and things like that are kind of like, hey, you made the right call with Pope, so clearly we can trust you a little bit with this one. So it really was. Mitch was kind of just seen as enemy number one in Lexington for a really long time, and now that Pope and their relationship is so strong, there's really not a whole lot of animosity between Barnhart and anybody.
Yeah, I was curious about how that worked because, anytime you have a hire that's a rock, people are excited about and energized, it's about that. Because it's weird in Arkansas, people were excited about Cal, but it wasn't because Hunter Yurchik went out there and was like, man, I'm going to go and get the coach that everybody wants. It was more like John Tyson's like, you're hiring John Calipari, and that was it. So there's just been a pretty large disconnect from there. And, we talked and quoted from Hunter Yurchik talking about, trying to up finances and everything. I feel like when Pope got hired, I'm sure it was a excitement where if you needed up to your donations or whatever, it's a lot easier to do. And it just seems like we're just trying to compare it to the connection fans have with Arkansas and their administration with, say, Kentucky, where it seems like things are going pretty good over here.
I will say, though, with Mark Stoops kind of just his future being as uncertain as it is, and fans are, wondering like, hey, you saved the $44 million with, not firing John Calipari. You technically have some money to spend. Why not put it towards? So if there is some uncertainty, it is on the football side. But I think there's also just an understanding of like, hey, this has been Mitch Barnhart's MO from day one. Like, he's not going to change his identity and who he is and how he runs his ship. I mean, do people disagree? Like, hey, we know the moneymaker is with basketball and football. Why are we not putting the same chips and energy in toward those two programs versus the way he operates with volleyball? And I mean, he wants all 22 scholarship sports to be equally successful and all of them to be profitable. So if, as things stand right now, they are all profitable and all across campus, they're all successful programs. So in his mind, and if you're just looking purely on the surface of what makes a successful athletic director, he is doing his job, even though Mark Stoops has incredibly underwhelmed.
Man, I was wondering, like, did Kentucky go through the same thing? Maybe Razorback fans with Sam Pittman, they're like, we're tired of this. We want something different. And then when it doesn't happen, just the excitement for anything surrounding football goes away.
And I think the swap with Mark Pope and just the resurgence and energy, I think they're just like, hey, we're happy to push our chips in on Pope. And like, I mean, you get a Colgate at 9 o'clock at night on a Tuesday, midweek November matchup or whatever, and it's sold out from top to bottom in Rupp Arena, and you just don't get that anywhere else. The fan base needed something to kind of latch onto. The football program has kind of been wavering a little bit and it's kind of plateaued, is probably the most comfortable way of putting that. And it needed just something to latch onto because, as you guys know, the fan base is as passionate as anybody in college basketball, in all of sports. So, this Mark Pope is kind of, I think, helped a lot with the revenue sharing and just being able to put all of our energy into the basketball program right now.
Gotcha. Okay, so I don't know if you knew, there's a game on Saturday.
Is there?
Yeah, Razorback basketball comes to town.
I thought you were just here because you liked us.
Yeah, I've never been to Lexington. I figured February 1st Saturday weekend. Yeah, just take the kids. It's fine. So there's that game. We've been talking about it for not analyzing. Obviously, circumstances are a little different when you're 1-6 in SEC play, but from the Kentucky fans' perspective, and this is surely like the game. Like, has there ever been a type of anticipation for a game in Rupp Arena like this before?
No, and it's because this man is so beloved from some of the best core memories that a lot of these fans have had. The kids of that era, I am one of them. The kids of that era that grew up with John Calipari and their most beautiful memories in sports are because of that man. So you get the love and just kind of the nostalgia with that of the good times, but also the last 5 years and the lack of postseason success and some of the bitterness that comes with that, and you guys, and I was laughing so hard, just you guys saying the same things that we said, and just even like down to like how he goes about a press conference and what he says. It's just so funny just relive it through somebody else's eyes, but it's a very polarizing game for us, where there's a lot of love but a lot of hate, and trying to navigate the emotions that come with that has been a very touchy topic for us, clearly.
I'm curious, anytime Cal speaks about Mark Pope or Mark Pope speaks about Cal, it's they say everything that they're supposed to say. So much has been made about Cal's return. You guys have been around Mark Pope a lot this week. What sense do you get from him going into this game about, he's asked about a lot and everything, and I'm sure he's saying all the right things, but do you think there's a part of him that's just like, I'm so tired of talking about this. I just want to go out here and play a game. Do you think it bothers him at all, or is he just really – he seems like a genuine guy who kind of embraces everything, but I don't know. If it was me, by this point, I'd be like, yeah, okay, we're playing the guy that was here before, whatever. Let's beat him and move on.
Yeah.
He is a PR just mastermind. Like, he knows – what the pulse of the fan base is, what makes them tick, the right things to say, the wrong things to say. He was on his call-in radio show last night, and it just explained the dynamic so perfectly and said, hey, this is a competition. We've never seen any other opposing coach come in and you guys give a standing ovation and cheer and clap and scream. That's never been the case. They are an enemy when they come in. It doesn't matter. But that doesn't take away from the love that you guys have and the beautiful memories and the banner that he hung in 2012 and the banner that will be hung at some point with. So he has understood that this is what the fan base wants to talk about. This is what they care about. This is what they're passionate about. He has been talking about this game since April 9th, since he got named head coach and every step along the way. So I don't get that sense that he's tired of talking. I think that if the fan base cares about it, it's something that he cares about, and he's just done a really masterful job of, over the course of the non-conference schedule and the games that everybody else views as a cupcake, he pushes his chips on it and says, this is the biggest game of our lives. No game is bigger than Brown on New Year's Eve. We all know that that game doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but he makes the players know and feel that game matters. So when we approach actually the biggest game of the season, this feels no different than a Brown or a Colgate or a Duke or a Clemson on the road. He's just done a really good job of just kind of taking the emotion out of it, because every game is the biggest game of the season.
You just said biggest game of the season right there. And obviously 3 months ago when we were looking ahead, we circled this on our calendar. Probably didn't think we were going to have a 1-6 Arkansas team coming to town. And really, in preseason, you could argue Arkansas had maybe even more expectations, at least nationally. Given all that's played out and kind of the way the fan base, 'cause I know there's a lot of Kentucky fans, we hear them, that have been dancing on Cal's grave a little bit. And mostly it's in jest, mostly it's fun. And like you said, it's kind of cool to see another fan base go through it and all that. But just given the circumstances of how it's played out, and now that Kentucky, they're an 11.5-point favorite, had a ton of big wins, so he's built up some leeway. But how big of a game, really, how much pressure is on Mark Pope and really the program? Like, do you think it would be like a disaster if they lost to Arkansas at this point, or do you think it's just kind of people would chalk it up to, hey, Cal got his boys up to play for this one?
Had Pope lost in Knoxville on Tuesday, I think it would have been riding a 3-game losing streak. Going into this one, it would have been hey, you got to win this game.
That's what we were banking on.
Yeah.
We were counting on that for sure.
So I think there was just kind of this alleviated pressure that came with, hey, you took care of business, ranked top 10 matchup down in Knoxville. Now you're kind of playing with house money, where we have seen Kentucky slip up in these types of games. They have gotten up for the top 10, top 15 matchups. Almost to perfection. Alabama, the only slip up. where they have slipped up is against the Clemsons and Georgias and Vandy's, and Arkansas would fit the billing there. So I do wonder, there is a clear effort of, hey, we gotta figure out how to make them hum, how to get throw the first punch when the ball is tipped instead of just kind of taking. He's a good data collector. He calls it data collector. That he will kind of just watch the game unfold and say, all right, I don't like this. In the second half, let's try to capitalize on that. Well, then you get down 14 points at halftime and go, oh shoot, we got to. That's a hole that we've dug ourselves quite a bit. So I think that's just kind of the mindset. But I do think that winning on Tuesday completely changed the must-winness of it, if you will. That would have absolutely been there had this been a 3-game losing streak.
I mean, I would say the most impressive part about that was going down there and doing it not anywhere near full strength.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what your pulse is on the health of Kentucky. Obviously, Arkansas is going to be there without Boogie Fland. John Calipari, we talked to him today, and it's pretty clear that Jonas Adu is still dealing with his foot injury. He's not 100%. Kentucky's got some guys out, some guys who seems like, Carr, Butler, they've been trying to play through some things. Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. Where do you think they're at right now?
I think both will probably play, but neither will be even remotely close to 100%. And I think that's just kind of everybody is dealing with that right now. It's the SEC. It's midway through, kind of pushing, rounding third, if you will. I think everybody is dealing with that. And what really was impressive was the fact that you had Amari Williams running point guard for several possessions. You had Jackson Robinson kind of taking over the lead guard position at times. Kobe Breo, Tega Owe, Colin Chandler. They did it by committee, and this team has, they did that in the second half against Gonzaga as well out in Seattle. This team has done a really good job of just, hey, backs against the wall, we have no choice but to kind of play a team brand. Like, it's not going to be me taking over, it's not going to be you taking over. We have to take over as a group, and they've done a really, really good job of that. So they're hurt. They're probably going to play, but I think you're not going to see the best versions of either of them no matter how that.
Speaking with Jack Pilgrim of Kentucky Sports Radio, KSR, here at KSBar in Lexington. So, Jack, are you as surprised as everybody that Cal has not done very well this year? I mean, understand Kentucky fans are like, oh, well, lose NCAA tournament, but surely you didn't think when he got this roster and all this stuff that it was going to be this bad at this point.
Oh, what a tricky question. What a very tricky question. I am a John Calipari fan. I have been for my entire life. I think he is an incredible man. I think he's done an unbelievable job in the community, and everything that he does is genuine. I do think that he means well. I do think that in the tail, as we're coming, down the home stretch of his career, however many years that is left, I do think that he has put bad, questionable people around him that have enabled some of his worst behaviors, and that he is so obsessed with his ego and the look of like, hey, people love me, I'm good at what I do, and I'm a Hall of Famer. People that are willing to behind the scenes say, hey man, you're the best that's ever done this. Focusing on that instead of, hey, like, this is the modern day, like this, how can we adapt our offense to adjust and keep moving forward? I think that is where those were the warning signs with us in Lexington, and why we kind of, where the frustration came from, and why we said that, hey, like, we need a fresh voice. This is just where the messaging is falling upon deaf ears. Something has to give. He keeps, trying to shove that square peg in a round hole, and it's just not working anymore. So yes, when this move happened, it wasn't out of hatred, it wasn't out of jealousy. It was a true warning sign of, hey, we love the guy, he has meant the world to us, but until he has people that are willing to challenge him in his corner and tell him, like, hey, this is not working, you gotta change the way you're operating, it's not going to change, and he's going to continue to keep putting out the product that you're seeing on the floor right now, and it's frustrating coming from a guy that loves him and wants him to maintain his Hall of Fame legacy.
Let me ask you this: you mentioned him having people around him that'll challenge him. When he's had those guys in the past, I guess Rhoback, Welch maybe last year, was that, did he bring those guys in on his own volition? Was that something that was kind of forced on him, where it's like, hey, you need to mix it up, shake it up a little bit? And then are there common themes there, which I'm guessing might be his own stubbornness as to why maybe those things didn't work out?
because those guys weren't also, it's kind of a two-way street. Those guys were also not stroking his ego, and they're saying, hey, this isn't working. He said, well, I'm John Calipari. Everything I do works. So it has been Rhoback was a lifelong friend, somebody that was in his corner from day one. That was a really ugly, sad breakup with, personal health issues on Rhoback's side and things. It was touchy. It was a really ugly breakup that led to their departure. And I do think that Rhoback's departure has done a huge number on him. I do think he was a confidant, somebody that was kind of just willing to I would say the only guy in Cal's corner right now that truly will, step up to the plate and say, hey, this isn't working. I think Brew is the only guy, Bruiser Flint, and even still, he's still hey, I've known you for 50 years, so he's not going to say anything that's going to really challenge Cal in a way that's going to make him change the way he's been operating for decades. So it's touch. I just don't think anybody around him right now is doing him any favors.
You don't think Tyler Eulis? You don't think Tyler Eulis is over here just barking orders at him? No.
I think Tyler Eulis is the best point guard in the history of Kentucky basketball. I love him. I adore him. Not the guy that Cal needed right now in this. I think a fresh start with the staff would have done absolute wonders for him in the move to. And I still think that there is a chance that could have, if he wants to save the ship, if you will. I do think it will be important this offseason to address that.
That may have been one of our first, red flags, if that's what you want to call it, because. When he took the job, he at least acknowledged some things that he felt like he needed to change. It's like, hey, you know what? I felt like I had too many mouths to feed last year. It wasn't working out. Whatever. I'm only going with 9 guys. Well, that proved to be a very bad idea in hindsight. And then I get it. I used to bring in 6 to 7 freshmen every year. The game's getting older. Oakland had guys who were 45 out there. I'm going to get more transfer. We're going to have more balance on the roster. And he kind of did that. And so far, he's held to his word about not overdoing it with the freshmen. We'll see. But it was the staff where we were like, I don't know. And then all of your people were telling us the same thing. Like, hey, listen, you want him to shake it up, man. So for Razorback fans, I know a lot of them are in our comments every day saying he's got to go get an offensive coordinator. All he's got to do is just go get an OC, and he'll be fine.
I've heard that phrase.
Hold your breath.
I've heard that phrase for 6 years.
Right.
Yeah, and that's. So what makes it so weird is I think Razorback fans were just at minimum, like we talked about, expecting just stay at Kentucky. It's not like he had a terrible year last year, terrible ending. But I mean, it'd be great to be 13-5 in the SEC this year. Yeah, it'd be awesome. So let me ask, you won't, but do you want to boo on Saturday? You want to boo him?
I said this on.
You booed us when we walked in. So
yeah, we got to. I will give a nice golf clap. I think I am.
I like that.
Again, Cal was good to me. Cal and KSR have this just weird, long-standing beef that just for so many different reasons and the backstories behind it and stuff, but. All things considering, as toxic as the relationship was, and both sides just not work. We made it work. All things considered, given my role, and I do appreciate him for doing his best to kind of accommodate a lot of that. But again, I grew up. I went to school here. My sister went to school here when I was 5 years old, and that's where my love and passion for Kentucky basketball came from, and the peak of my enjoyment as a child came from that. So I still view it when I look at John Calipari. I still view 2012 Cal. I view him as 2014-15 Cal. John Wall, that is my version of him. What we're seeing right now, I do think it's like when you just see a family member or a friend who's just kind of lost their way, and it's like, hey, one day he'll find himself. It'll finally click for him, and so I'm hoping to come sooner rather than later. I hope the rivalry becomes bigger and better and becomes what we thought it was going to be when the move happened. So I will not be booing. I understand why people will, but I also understand why there will be a lot of people in there that will give him the ovation that I personally think he does deserve.
Since you're such a huge Cal guy, I'm sure you'll agree, it's all about the kids at the end of the day. It's about these kids and their families, making sure they prosper. So it's going to make you a little bit happy. If Arkansas gets it done on Saturday, there will probably be a part of you that looks at Adu Thero looks at Big Z, looks at 3J Wagner is what we're hoping to see on Saturday, you'll feel a little good for the kids and the families, right?
No, no, not at all. I love Big Z. It's when you do this job and you cover their recruitments, and I've been following DJ Wagner since he was an 8th grader. I'm seeing him at these high-profile events, knowing hey, there's going to be a day that he's going to play for John Calipari. You develop these relationships and connections with these kids, and I love Boogie Fland and just his charisma, and I've been following him since he was sophomore, junior year of high school. So you just develop these Adu Thiero stories, just so cool, where he just popped up out of nowhere, explodes at the high school level, wins a state championship, and just kind of becomes hey, we're going to take a swing on this kid. I see him as this diamond in the rough. Hope that his physical tools kind of emerge and he becomes a lottery pick one day. That's what he has become. So it is cool to see the kids that I developed relationships with way back when become what they were. Obviously, the Big Z story was just overtook everything here in Lexington. Love that guy forever. But I hope they all do extremely well. I hope Big Z goes for 30 on Saturday and they lose by 30. It's just that weird dynamic.
Could happen.
I want their individual success, but I want their team failure.
Yeah. Well,
who would be the one guy of those 3 that left Kentucky, or the 3 guys who were committed to Cal and then came to Arkansas? Who would be the best fit, you think, for Pope?
I don't think it's close. I think Z and
I figured you'd say that.
Adu is up there as well, but Pope actually talked about it today that he had a couple meetings with Big Z and really thought there was some traction. He made a joke. He was like, "Well, I like Z a whole heck of a lot more than he liked me, clearly." So I think he understood that. But Z is a Mark Pope, Mark Pope fit to a T. I think he would have been a tremendous fit at the 5. And, I think he's as dynamic and unique and fun as there are. His personality is hilarious. I think my all-time favorite video is the one of him spraying the Gatorade in his face. I laugh every single – I've seen it 1,000 times, and I'll laugh another 1,000 every time I see it. But all-time cool story. But, yeah, Z, if you're listening, if you want to hit the transfer portal again this offseason, come to Lexington. We will welcome you.
It sounded like you were laying the foundation a little bit. He's like, I'm telling you, at the 5, you get him in here, get him in Park Popes. I
can do what Pope is not allowed to do. Come to Kentucky, bud. We love you.
We get that every day. And, there are games where, sometimes it's matchup dependent with Z, and anytime he doesn't play that much or he struggles out there, and people will pull up that box and be like, he played 3 minutes, and then it's all of Big Blue Nation saying, should have stayed. Stay with Pope.
Yep, should have had it. So, but Jack, before we let you get out here, we were talking about this because we talked about some of the games in Arkansas and Kentucky history. When you're a Kentucky fan, grew up that way. When you think Arkansas, Kentucky, what's the first game? And I'm assuming it's a win for Kentucky, but what's the first game that pops up in your mind?
It is a weird dynamic because we do have the Coach Cal ejection, and that's one that pops up. So that was fun, but I mean, recency bias maybe. But Antonio Reeves, kind of similar situation what we may be going into on Saturday, where the team just kind of depleted by injury. Hey, Antonio, you got to be our starting point guard. Just see what the heck happens. Go figure it out. And he goes and drops 30 plus, and
Eric Musselman takes over. Bad.
He was.
That was a good one. I really Antonio is one of my all-time favorite too. So I may be a little biased there, but yeah, that's the one that sticks out for me. Just that Fayetteville takeover.
Well, that is how dumb it was. We talked about last year, where you had in Fayetteville one of the lowest scoring type of games you'll ever see, and then in Lexington you had one of the highest scoring games that you would ever see. So. Even last year, even though Kentucky won both, but still, it's just weird. Like sometimes weird games happen that way.
Last year's team was really weird. I mean, you'd get a game where Rob Dillingham would cook for 35 points, and the next game you'd go 3 for 12, and it really. Last year was a really, really weird year that ended the only way last year's team could have ended. I mean, you are on top of the world in Knoxville. Think, all right, we're going to go win the SEC tournament. We're going to go on a Final Four run, hottest team in the SEC. And then they never win again. It's just the weirdest team on the planet. But hey, that's life with John Calipari.
Yeah. Well, I can say with full strength though, I really hope Arkansas and John Calipari loses in the first round of the NCAA tournament this year. I really hope they do. I'm really hoping that's the case. I'm really hoping that happens. But, yeah, it should be a lot of fun. But, hey, Jack, appreciate you coming on. It was good to check this all out. And we got a nice, warm welcome here in Lexington. Tried a few places and going to continue to hang out and see what it's all about, man. But we appreciate you.
I heard Carson's. What else have you been to?
So we just went to Carson's was the main spot. We've gotten a ton of recommendations. So I guess if you're on here, like, what should we
honestly, I just overhearing, I think you nailed most of them. Josie's for breakfast.
I don't know if we got.
I don't know if we've got that.
I don't know if that
Do that one.
Okay.
It's a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
see,
agrees.
I
Yeah.
told you.
Yeah, Josie's for breakfast.
Hit that for
Dad's
breakfast tomorrow.
sandwich is one that we get a lot.
Yeah, and the Goodfellas pizza is the one that gets thrown around.
It's good, solid. Gus's chicken.
Okay,
Hit that. That's a great lunch place. Those are my two recommendations.
Something
Josie's.
Bologna's?
Joe Bologna's.
Joe Bologna's.
Solid Italian. They've been around for forever.
Yeah.
That's definitely one. The meatballs are this big. They give these massive breadsticks. It's good, very good stuff.
I mean, other than the fine food here, of course, at KSBar.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to eat here every single meal until you leave, we're happy for it.
So I'll ask you. So pizza? If we're doing pizza, like, what's the pizza spot you would recommend?
Ooh.
Because we got Goodfellas, it was Pies and Pints.
Pies and Pints.
And they're both like right there by where we're staying. So.
Pies and Pints is a good like sit down place, but my drunken college days being here on campus, Mad Mushroom on that corner, just right down the street. Mad Mushroom is some if you have a couple drinks and you're wanting to chill at the hotel for a little while, Mad Mushroom is the place where you call them and have it delivered to your door, and you will never be happier.
Okay, sounds good. Well, hey, man, Jack, we appreciate you hopping on with us. It's good to be here and good to hang out with you. So enjoy the game.
Go Cats.
Yep, there it is. Yeah, go Cal. Go Cal. There we go. So that's Jack Pilgrim of KSR, on 3 here at the KSBar. So good to catch up with him and everything. So, but yeah, guys,
good stuff.
Yeah, it was good stuff. And here we are, kind of wrapping up shop and everything. I know we had a bunch of people in the comments and all that, but. Going to be a busy few days for us.
It's going to be fun, man.
It is. I can't wait. I can't wait to see just the atmosphere, checking out other places too, and seeing how the show. Because I feel like tomorrow it's going to be a little bit more people coming in and seeing things, and then Saturday, I don't know.
Saturday might just be. It actually is. I've talked myself into it. There's going to be so much time on Saturday to build anticipation. By the time the game rolls around, we'll be wore out.
I know. Yeah, everybody's need to take a nap by that point in time. So, but
we got to see a little bit of campus today.
Yeah,
I want to go check out. Like, I want to see Kroger Field and where they play baseball. I wouldn't mind seeing those facilities. We got plenty of time, man.
Yeah. We got time to kill, as they say here at Inside Arkansas. But no, we really appreciate everybody who's tuned in with us. We went long a little bit today, but it was fun. Good show, good topics, and good discussion. We appreciate everybody who's giving us the super chats for sure, and we're always going to be accepting of those. Thank you so much. But we're going to have a lot of great content, though. Whether it's Pod at the Palace, even Bombastic's going to be doing some action here. Inside Arkansas Live will be live here once again tomorrow at the KSBar at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Central. I hate having to do that every time, but got to accommodate everybody. So we're going to be back here, though, and we're going to have a lot of great stuff and a lot of good fun, and hopefully have some good topics of conversation, dealing it and mixing it up with a little bit of the Big Blue Nation. So it should be awesome. But yeah, thanks to all of our sponsors, whether it's Alumni Hall, Bet Saracen, as well as Fayetteville Fly Co. Going to give a shout out to them because we actually had somebody, 2 people that were Kentucky fans purchase Fayetteville Fly Co. because they thought they're big fishing people, and they're like, we love that stuff.
They got some good stuff over
there.
They
got good stuff, so it was really cool to see that.
I'll be rocking that hoodie tomorrow.
So. Yeah, it's a great stuff, great apparel and everything. But yeah, we appreciate everybody being a part of it. So any final thoughts before we get out here?
Well, I mean, John, I know we're trying to turn out the content here. You've got some media obligations coming up, so I just want to thank Logan, me, Andrew, and Ching Coleman are going to go to Jeff Ruby's tonight, and we're looking forward to it, man. So thank you for that. You're clutch.
Yeah. I'm gonna be over there. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if he says anything really interesting.
We'll get you a doggy bag.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be great. But I appreciate it. But yeah, Andrew, any final thoughts?
Woo damn pig. That's all I have to say. I'm proud to be a Hog. After hearing our fearless athletic director give us that encouraging message today, I'm fired up.
Man, I mean, yeah, how could you not be? Really? I mean, just forget the record. Throw records out the door. The excitement level, everyone's embracing the Hog right now. But, jeez. But either way, hey, appreciate it, though. Everybody listening and watching, and be sure to subscribe to us here at Inside Arkansas. Be sure to check out all of our great content wherever podcasts are found, whether it's Inside Arkansas Live, the Pod at the Palace, Bombastic Podcast. Check us out on social media at Inside Arkansas and also our website, InsideArkansas.com. For all the latest and greatest up-to-date information on all things Hogs. So, for Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel. Tomorrow afternoon right here at KSBar in Lexington. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.